Okay. All right, everybody. Good evening and welcome to the RSU 14 Wyndham Raymond School District Board of Directors meeting. Today is May 2nd, 2018, and the time is 6:03, and we are in the Wyndham Town Council chambers. Mr. Superintendent, may I have a roll call?
Sure can. Kate Bricks.
Here.
Eric Colby. Here. Jenny Cummins.
Here.
Dawn Dillon. Diana Forsland.
Here.
Marge Cavoni.
Here.
Pete Hensler. Anna Kenny.
Here.
Scott McLean. Here.
You'll stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I do have one adjustment to the agenda this evening. We needed to change the wording for the motion that is number 11.2. That is our change. Now I'd like to open the floor for any public input. And seeing none, we'll close public input. First item on our agenda this evening is an executive session for a readmission hearing. If I could have a motion.
I move to approve going into executive session to consider the possible readmission of a student pursuant to 1 MRSA subsection 405(6)B.
Second. All those in favor? It is unanimous. We are now in executive session. Okay, we are now out of executive session, and if I could have a motion.
I move to approve the student under consideration be readmitted to school and that the superintendent provide the parents with a written summary of the board's findings.
Second.
All those in favor? It is unanimous. Okay. Thank you. You just pass your papers to the left. All right, thank you very much. Okay. Moving on in our agenda, the next section is appointments. If I could have a motion.
I move to approve the following appointments for the 2018-2019 school year. Ryan Karen, principal, Wyndham High School, with the master's, $119,842.
Second.
All those in favor?
Can I have?
Oh, sure.
I think Sandy, you had said that he planned on being here.
Yes.
So would it be all right if when he shows up that we're able to let him come to the podium and speak? Madam Chair.
Yes, I think that's fabulous.
Okay. Thank you. What was that?
I think that was well timed.
Yeah, wasn't it? Oh, wait a minute. I think
Oh, time for my medication.
Oh, that was Chris. Okay.
Can we vote for it?
Yeah, why don't we vote and then we can bring him up.
Okay.
Okay. All those in favor? It is unanimous. So we just voted actually for Ryan. Too bad you just walked in a couple minutes late. But we're thrilled that you're here. So if you'd like to come to the podium and introduce yourself, that would be great because we all want to meet you.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited. I'm Ryan Karen. Some of you I know from years ago. It's been 19 years. So I started teaching here in Wyndham 19 years ago, and I taught social studies here for 8 years, and then I went out to Socopee Valley in Hiram, where I was assistant principal for a few years, and then principal for a few more, and the last 5 years I've been principal down at South Portland High School. And I've enjoyed my time at South Portland. We've done a lot of really good things, but I live in North Gorham. I live right up the road, and I've always kept an eye on Wyndham and what's happening over here, and this opportunity was something that I really couldn't pass up. Deb was the person who really pushed me into even considering being an administrator. I was really happy as a social studies teacher and a coach, and she saw something and led me down this road. So I'm just very, very excited, very busy. I've got to run from here and head back down to South Portland for a couple of meetings tonight, but looking forward to July 1st and really getting started and getting to meet everybody again and getting to meet some new people as well.
Well, thank you very much for coming, especially since you have a busy schedule. So we're very happy to meet you, and we're looking forward to you coming on board. You have big shoes to fill.
Yeah. And I know you're going to remember who every single
I'm
one
gonna
of
try.
us are,
I'm
right?
going to try.
But you'll be back.
I will.
Yeah.
I will.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Okay. Next item on our agenda is the RSU 14 website committee. And we have this evening Gary Harriman and Amy Denneker, Richie Vickers, and Natalie Scorvin. I always mess up her name. I'm so sorry. Scovrin?
Could you skip past the
Scovrin. Scovrin.
Christine's nothing.
I guess so.
Hello. How's it going?
Gary, we know you can figure that out.
Oh, you are.
We wish you good luck.
Otherwise,
You are really hoping.
yes, I am. Better turn that one on. Yeah.
Turn that one on.
Turn that on.
How many are there?
That's a Dell, so it's not that.
Chris, do you remember how this works?
Sure it's on there. It's a Toshiba's. That's a Dell.
Oh,
wait.
wait a minute. Wait, I think maybe.
Right here.
Oh,
Now I just got to change it to the.
Is it on the mirror?
Hold on.
Now you see exactly what's on your screen. We got it.
we think we got it.
Yeah, he's.
Just close it up right here.
That's the computer. Just go. Oh.
Well, there's a lot of them, huh?
You know, we're always looking for the remote. Yeah.
I promise we don't have it.
Oh, they were optimized.
We all can't, Brad. We all can't. The people on
Oh,
the
that's a
end.
Dell. Hold on, that's a Dell.
Can you see it down there?
Yes, we can see down there.
The people on the side.
I can't. Although I hate to tell you this, what I can't is read it. It's not. It's not. It's not very clear.
That's good.
I can read that one. I'll just turn around.
That's right, it's clear up there.
We knew you had executive. We didn't want to crash in it, so we were strategically waiting.
You can bring your own chair up and sit and cuddle up with Gary.
Come sit with us.
I didn't mention your name because you weren't here at the time.
I'm sorry.
And joining the group is Christine Hessler.
Are we on?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Those are always on. They don't turn off.
You want to say something first, boss?
Yes, so I'm going to have the amazing pleasure to work with this group right here in front of you. This new webpage has been in the works this entire school year. And I have to say, when we were tasked with this, the undertaking that this has gone from this team is absolutely incredible. I asked them to share with you tonight some of the components, what make up what you're going to be seeing. It is beautiful, but it is so functionable, and it is, for me, an amazing spot where we're going to be able to just rock it right out of everything that we want to do. The layer of detail that these four people have put in is extraordinary. I cannot believe how much they now, or I know now, about fonts, sizes, page shifts. I mean, these four each have their own unique personality and skill set, and to watch it in action is quite brilliant. So I am thrilled for you to hear about the process and to actually get us a part in seeing what's coming very, very soon for the RSU. So.
Great. Do you know all of us? I'm Gary Harriman, district videographer, and kind of wrangling this mess.
Reggie Vickers, technology lead over at the middle schools.
Amy Dennicker, I'm the high school librarian.
Natalie Scogren, I'm the instructional technology leader at the high school.
What we do is I'd like to spend a couple of minutes just giving you a little history of how we got here, so you get a sense of what we went through trying to put this together and trying to understand what we've been given to do. This started back in September. I look back and I noticed that Dawn wrangled the crew together on September 19th.
Yeah.
She sent out an email on the 12th, and the thing I thought was interesting is that on the 15th, Natalie and I were already exchanging ideas. We hadn't even met as a group yet, and Natalie and I found emails between the two of us about, check this site out. I like what they're doing here, and check this out. So we were already started. One of the things that we didn't realize going into it was that, well, I guess we knew it, but until you get in, you don't think about it, is a mature website like this with 7 or 8 schools, 100 departments, hundreds of teachers, all with pages, every department having archives of materials and all the other stuff that they've grown over 6 or 7 or 8 years, all has to be moved or culled, or you have to do something with it. And so we got together, we started out with conversations about what do we like, what we don't like, what do we like for functionality. When we go to a website, we're consumers. What do we like when we go to a website? What don't we like? What do we like or don't like about our current site? There were conversations about font styles and colors, and do things slide, do things dissolve, do we have pictures, do we have movies? Oh my God, we went all over the place in those early conversations. We did some surveys where we all agreed to go out and explore websites. I know I looked at 60 different websites around the state, school websites, to get some ideas of what our peers were doing. We looked at websites around the country. We got advice from some companies. And then we gathered and brought all this stuff back. We were all sharing information back. And then we took the committee. It's going to come up for me. There we go. Nope, that's the wrong page. I lost a page. It's all right. I don't need the one I lost. So we divided up the people that were in the original committee, who were most of the stakeholders, the school administrators, department heads. We divided all of them up and decided to interview them and find out what they wanted, what they liked, what they didn't like, what they wanted in addition to their sites, what the site worked, how the site worked for them, the current one, what they saw in another school that they liked. And we developed the sheet you're looking at now, which we sent out to all the administrators that they filled out. And here's one, the way it came back to us. And you can see the level of stuff that gets put on it. Mm-hmm. This is Manchester School. All of these things needed to find a home on the new site because they wanted to see them all. So we took all this information, collated it all together, and built this diagram. This was the way we organized. Natalie found this spreadsheet, and it allowed us to organize by school. Each color is a different school or center. The yellow is the school district. I think the fungy tealy green is the high school. So every one of these things that's on there is a decision made. It's something that has to be, a home has to be found for, material has to support, all the stuff that goes with it. So this was one of our exercises. Then the company we contracted with to do the development provided us with this lovely spreadsheet. And this is how they wanted all the material provided to them. And when it was, well, I thought I had it filled out. I do have it filled out. So we took all the material off that octopus-looking thing, and that all filled in this spreadsheet for the web developer to actually take the material. We had to decide if it was to be migrated, recreated, if it was a site that we're going to have to recreate ourselves. There were some rules around that we had to explore, so that was part of that process. And then we provided them with we did a few mock-ups of our own things we liked that I don't have to show you. You don't need to see the really messy stuff we did at the beginning. We provided them with mock-ups and stuff, and they provided us with the first pass in October. A really rough first pass. We did our first.
It's pretty quick.
the first pass in, where is it? Here it is. So we did our first revisions in November. First revisions were in November. Second revisions were in December. These were all revision sheets of what, and you can see how detailed our revisions are.
Not really. You go too fast. I can't read
I'm
that
sorry.
fast.
Oh, slow me down.
I haven't been able to read a blessed thing.
Slow me down. These are all things we looked out for. There's changing accent colors, shifting menu options, updating menus, updating logos. We redesigned the district logo for the website use. We had a lot of discussion around logos and copyright and other things, and
We're all legal.
so that everything on our website is legal
Every single thing is.
and meets copyright. We thought since we're teaching digital literacy and copyright in our classrooms that we ought to follow it ourselves. So that informed some of our material. I actually skipped past a little thing. In our discussions, one of the things we were trying to identify were what things were most important to our consumers. When you go to the website, what things did you want to see first? And that's kind of where our conversation started. We liked the pretty. We found lots of things we thought were interesting and nice to look at, but ultimately it comes down to the people go. They want to find your staff directory. They want to find your calendar. They may want to see current. You may want them to find your current events so that you can use it as a outreach communication tool. And then a lot of the other stuff is kind of fun, but basically you go to the site, find the calendar, what time is the ball game? Or you want to find the lunch menu. You want to find out what my kid's having for lunch in the middle school or the primary school. So we decided up front that we didn't want anything to be more than 2 clicks in. We were going to design the menus and the drop downs so you had the maximum 2 clicks to get to the majority of the information. So that was kind of what informed our talk. Maybe going too fast. Am I doing just fine? So anyway, that's kind of where we went. And we went through multiple revisions through February, March. We settled on a final form. February and March, the Edleo company, which we contracted with, took all of our material and our input, and they went away and they actually coded the sites and made them work. So there was a big gap where things were going on that we couldn't really do much about.
You guys were a little bored.
Well, not really, a little bit. But at the same time, and Natalie will talk about this a little bit later, we started developing in the background the Google integration that will allow us to do a full integration of calendars and documentation and folder system in the background. So that, for instance, if you're, school policy is probably a bad example, an attendance form at the middle school. You build it as a Google Doc. You store it in a folder. The way we do it now is you build it as a Word doc. You convert it to a PDF. You upload it to the site, and you can't edit it. If you want to change it for next year, you start over. You make a new doc, turn it into a PDF, then replace the one that's on the site. With Google Docs, it allows you to build it as a Google Doc, save it in a folder, and publish it to the site. Next year, you change the dates on it and resave. It automatically publishes it to the site. So all of those intermediate steps, and Terry is really happy with this, because things like school board agendas and all that stuff, she goes through I don't know how many steps to get stuff published, and it won't require that anymore. So we started building a folder system in the background for all the schools, departments, where the stuff can be stored. We're still working on that.
We're filling the folders now.
We're filling the folders. Administrators got an email this week saying these are all the documents that we still don't have access to. Please send us access so that we'll convert them, we'll make them usable, put them in the folders, and then we're going to do training with admins in a couple of weeks and staff towards the end of the year. Now I'm really getting ahead of myself. Okay, so that's the history. That's how we got here and what we've been doing for the past few months. This is where we landed. This is the district site. The new logo is in the upper left. Natalie did a great job of organizing these.
So that's why it's not live, right?
Oh no.
Hold on, it's not live yet.
I just want to check with them.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No, because if it goes live, the other one's gone. So.
Yeah, I think you can. I'll plug it back in maybe.
Possibly tech support in my spare time.
So you know what an ID10T is?
course, we get to the new website.
Is it showing over there?
It's showing here.
Is it showing over here?
In the
Okay.
advanced master.
So it's just that one you can't see? Okay. So I'll have to look at this one instead. So the decisions we made. We wanted to go to a different color palette than we were used to seeing. We redesigned the logo. The top bar, all those things on the top bar are stuck. So no matter how you negotiate, how you navigate, those things stay available to you as you go down the page. This thing up in the top here, this is a carousel of photos that changes. District home button, obviously. This was the directory. Eventually, the directory will be populated with all the staff, obviously. I mentioned staff pages. No, okay. Calendar takes you. Not everything is functional because the sites don't talk to each other right now. The websites are all individual standalones. They don't talk to each other. That'll happen when they go live. But so this is the calendar. Getting ahead of myself if I can. Go back home. Let's go down the page. So you have these menus up here. These are all drop downs like you're used to seeing. But what we added stuck on the side over here are these for students, parents, and staff. And these stay stuck as you navigate down to. So you can still, if you're down here looking at a calendar item, you can still go over here and pick something up if you need to. These are all school buttons like you would expect them to be. They don't link to anything yet. Going down, here's the calendar. This same format holds true for all the sites, with the exception of Katahdin. Katahdin had a new site that they developed about 18 months ago, and they really like it, so all we did was link to it. We didn't redesign it. So this gives you a calendar feature. These are the current events that are happening right now in the district. You also have athletics. This ties to the high school athletic list at the moment. It'll show all events. Now it picks up a full calendar, and you can add down the side. You have all the other schools. If you want to expand that calendar and see.
That's amazing.
So from one calendar, you can do multi. If you have kids in 3 schools, you can do it on the same calendar.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Can you talk a little bit about administrating the calendar and who's responsible?
That is in a little bit of flux in that we're hoping that there'll be a person designated at each building who will be trained to do this. This works off the Google Calendar again. You do the Google Calendar in your school's Google Drive.
Yeah.
And when you do it, it updates you.
So it all.
It just sucks in here.
They never have to touch the website. They can do it right in the Google Suite. So it's something that they're comfortable with. It's not really that new if they're familiar with Google.
And if they're not on Google Calendar, we're going to move them to Google Calendar. They have to.
I'm loving the calendar.
If we can't get them, if we can't get them all on board, I have all of them.
So Gary's also going to be our webmaster, and so if there's a school or there's a change and somebody is out, Gary will step in and take that because he will understand all the pieces behind the scenes, and so we will never have a school that's not updated. So that's part of his role for next year.
The goal is to make sure the website is always current, always updated, always fresh. So and the reality is that the schools are busy, but that doesn't mean the website can be ignored. So part of my job will be to, if they're not populating, we'll populate it for them. And hopefully, but we're hoping that we're going to make it simple enough and easy enough and direct enough and important enough to them. And as you see, as we get to the individual school sites, you'll see why it's going to be important for them to do that. But going back to the district site here.
Gary,
yes.
Can you stay in the calendar for a minute?
Which one? This one?
Yes. I love the subscribe and the print specific calendars.
Oh, in the upper right, you'll see this little buttons here. You see me wave it around them here. That gives you the option. You can actually print the calendar. Chair over there. Over where? Use 2 fingers and slide up to it. It's not working. Thought it would zoom in. Sorry. Okay, want me to do that? There you go. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
So you could click your school
I need
that
to
your
get my
kids are
mouse
in
out.
and actually print out your
You can
own,
actually print the month calendar if you want to,
or
and
subscribe
you
to
can
them.
subscribe to it.
And the big thing about the subscribing is if you use Google Calendar on your own personal devices, or if you use iCal, if you're an Apple person, if you click on that subscribe button,
Yep.
It gives you several different options. And so if you choose your student schools, whatever it is that you want to be receiving notifications about, you choose your calendar that you have your own personal calendar on, it'll bring that into your own calendar.
Wow.
So parents could potentially only visit here once and then get it on all their devices all the time. Or they could come here and check it as often as they want.
And if they get updated, it will also update on their calendar because they're subscribed to the calendar. So if it changes within the school, it also changes with whoever subscribes to it.
That's right.
I feel a little bad that you guys did all kinds of work because really you could have come to me and done this and I would have been like, this is amazing. This is.
Oh, it gets better, Anna.
I mean, it's this and math. What are you doing to me, Christine?
Well, again, this goes back to our first conversations about what about school websites make us crazy.
Yeah.
What do we wish it would do amongst us? And then we were getting feedback from administrators. They're the same thing.
I have 4 kids in 4 different schools. I don't know where they are half the time because there's a lot of calendars to go through.
So again,
So we could go
if you get a high conversation.
If somebody likes you.
So, Gary, if you could track your kids too, that would be
I'll give you full access to my calendar as well.
So I just
Could you do check them too?
That'll be disappointing.
Yes. So this is the calendar view for the 4 Wyndham schools, and all 4 schools are on it together.
So would you go back to the page where you subscribe? Do you have the categories there? Would you just click a bunch of different categories? Okay, that's it.
That was what we
Yeah.
were.
And then it would walk you through the steps.
Okay.
You click the categories before you subscribe.
Okay,
And you
yeah.
choose your account.
Would you mind going back to the home page real quick?
Absolutely.
Would you mind starting from the beginning?
I just,
We're on a roll.
where would I find adult ed on this? Departments?
Oh, probably like athletics and all that.
It's not there.
Can't see that.
It's not loaded.
I know.
Oh,
Turn around.
I can't see
schools.
that.
It's under schools.
Schools?
Wyndham and Raymond Adult Education. Right.
And that goes to the existing.
Oh, you
adult
click
website.
quick.
That's what you're going to
Okay.
Clicky Clickerson.
I know your time is valuable. I'm just joking. So this goes to the existing adult ed site with no changes. It's just a link to.
Got it.
So like I said, and this. So now you have the calendar on the left. You have a recent news category on the right that can be populated by the schools. Depending, we're going to be talking to administrators next week to find out what level of access staff should have to some of these things. We'd like them to have a certain amount so that they can help with calendars and events and things, so that it doesn't all end up being on my desk. But ultimately, if it has to end up on my desk, it ends up on my desk. But it'd be good to have people in each building that are able to populate some of this stuff.
And most of the tasks we're asking them to populate are stuff that they do for themselves anyway. They're already making a calendar. Secretaries up front at the middle schools, they already make their news briefings. And instead of doing it the way that they're doing it now, we're just going to show them a different place to put it, and it'll show up.
But you're not suggesting every staff member have access?
No.
Okay.
No, a designee in each school.
Okay. Good.
I know, like Raymond Elementary, Mindy McKinney at the front desk has been designated.
Right. Okay.
Michelle Burrian at Manchester.
Okay. Danielle Viera.
Danielle Burrian.
Yep.
Has been designated there. So then we get down. So this is news. This has in archives. I only have 2 things in there just so you can see it tonight. But that gives you an idea of what's possible. And this is different on every school. Right. Every school has their own access to pages. So what appears on the district site isn't what's going to appear on the primary. They have their own choices to make. So it's a far more powerful tool than what we had before.
One thing I'd like to point out about the news and event or the recent news is that, like you said, every school has their own articles. You can assign articles to multiple schools.
Yes.
But one thing that schools can do is they can choose which articles they want to appear in a newsletter. and the program, the software will auto generate a newsletter for them that can then just be sent out. So there's no more going and designing a newsletter in Microsoft Word or anything like that. You just choose your stories, click newsletter, and it just makes it for you.
That's pretty cool.
So instead of like the Manchester, like they send like the evening news home every week, they wouldn't have to do that if
Not if they had the news.
if they put it in there and they.
Yep.
Our hope
cool.
is that with all of these tools, that perhaps listserv may become redundant. Something we can address.
You guys are getting a really big fan club right now.
Because, well, we'll get to it in a second. But so this section is a little amorphous. We haven't quite decided what to do with it yet. Right now we got this district vision. And these detailed things in here were provided to us by the designer as typically what some schools have done. But we can change this and do whatever else we want to do. My thought in here, although I don't know what the status of it is that my thought in here, like on the Wyndham Middle School, is this would be a great place to promote the construction project.
Yes.
If you chose to. I mean, you could put,
Probably true.
we could insert blueprint information or detail, whatever you want to do. Could go into this section was a place that they could go.
And I'm not sure if you can see it on the TV, but if you look closely as Gary's moving it, there's a picture behind it. And there's a special, what is that?
Oh, I thought it was just fuzzy.
It's called parallax.
Oh.
So there's a actual picture behind there.
Gives
That,
you a sense, like a little bit of sense of depth and movement.
Yeah.
And that picture was taken by
Looks like the roof.
Chris Howell's son took that picture. That's a drone shot from above the high school.
I thought it was a roof.
Presentation.
Yep.
Yes. He gets into everything.
I was going to say,
Then you get down further, and there's a video section, which is again unique to every district, every school, and you can share videos back and forth. I don't know how this archives yet. That's something I made a note of today. I can't find the archive. So it's a video section. That's very much like what you're used to thinking about. They'll stack 4 or 5 at a time, and there's an archive where you can search it. We're going to have to go through all the EduVision stuff and decide what needs to move. And then at the bottom, there's a footer here with district information mapped to the district, social media logins over here on the side. This is the Edleo login. And this little button down here, contact webmaster. Will the form pop up on there?
I wonder who that
It
is.
should use your email.
Otherwise known as the complaint bureau.
That comes up
Sandy's
with
cell phone number under contact?
no, everything's hidden. That comes up with a form, and that's good for people in the school or people in the community if they have something they'd like to see on the news or something they want to submit. We get to decide if it's appropriate, but they can submit material and. So
it also helps
that's
people
what it's about.
understand if they have a question or concern, there's a place to provide it. So they're not calling Sandy or me or Chris or any, like, they just don't know. So it organizes it all.
We'll still get caught.
I know, but it's okay.
So let's go back to the top.
Actually, we might have to revisit that from a policy standpoint, that contact piece. I'm not sure that we have a policy in place for advertising in the schools.
Oh, I'm not talking about advertising. I'm sorry, I did not
Is this
intend this.
internal?
Well, it exists on the web page. But advertising, you mean as actually an advertiser?
Request to post on our website.
Yeah,
we can
like
talk about it, but I
like
think
the baseball league, the little league is, I don't know.
Well, we can talk about what's appropriate to be used that way.
Right.
It's just it appears on the website, and it's.
Give me an example of what.
I mean, I can see a lot of the things that appear on listserv. You want to make sure that that crafts fair that's happening in the high school gym, you want to get that on the school calendar. You could submit it through here.
Internal, yeah.
A booster group.
Yeah.
The boosters want to promote something.
Right.
They could submit through here and get it on the school calendar if we decide that's appropriate. But there's a policy level that we'll probably have to have a conversation.
Yeah.
I agree.
And with that form, all it does, send a notification to the webmaster email and add the answers to all of the questions to a spreadsheet. So it doesn't have any kind of activation. It doesn't activate anything into the website.
Right. It's a request.
It's literally
Just a request that comes to me,
Right.
and I decide if it's appropriate, and I can respond to it.
Probably have to look at that policy to make
Yep.
sure it's a good idea.
Absolutely.
Speaking of policies, where would because this is a big community usage, because I always have a hard time finding right now is the facilities use. Where would you find that? If you wanted to request the use of any facility, the gym or a room or the library or whatever, where would you find that? Because right now I think it's at the high school and it's hard to find.
It's on facilities. Yep.
There's a
School do work order system in there.
So up to the top, under district and under departments,
Facilities.
Okay.
and then it's right there.
And then on each school site, it's also in the quick links. I think it's under the
think it's
parent
actually-
quick link to submit a school do request. We also have a staff.
And you
quick
see
link
that.
for school.
So on that side menu right on the homepage, if you hover over parents, there's
Yep.
school do facilities request.
Okay.
Or so, did I go too fast, Marge? I'm sorry.
I didn't say a word.
I'm looking at it right here. Well, I heard a noise. I heard a noise. I thought it was you.
The nice thing about those quick links on the side is as those things come up, and they will, if things will be done, and people will think of that we haven't, they're very easy to add on links too. So if there's a group of people that need parents to know about this and maybe they'll use it a lot, you just add those links.
Perfect. I love that.
Yeah, but there is a search once it's live.
Yes, and there is a search function.
Right. You can click search on the top and type in school dude or facilities, and it will. It's not live right now, but it would take you to your options.
Right there.
Yeah.
Good. It's cool.
Your stuff has been migrated over. So there's agendas and minutes.
We would like to point out though that it's showing PDFs, right? And that's one of those things that when we meet with Terry, we're going to be updating it. So that's the new Google format. This is what got migrated over to the old site.
Does this have in the board page? Does it have board meetings in a calendar?
They were on the main calendar.
On the main, on the district calendar. Would it have the meetings that are like the policy meeting, the policy committee meeting, the facilities committee meeting? Is that something we want or not?
Well, that's something you could decide as a group and tell Terry to either use her calendar or not, and it pops up on that calendar for everybody.
I
And
think
she
it's
can
on
share that.
our calendar anyway, so it would probably be integrated into the minutes.
What do you mean for the public?
Well, yeah, but also, I don't know when the
calendar
when some of the other meetings, other than the ones I'm involved in.
I see what you're saying. Yep.
Of course, I'm involved in all of them.
Seems like it's
It's just a drop down. And here's all you folks.
No, please hurry.
I'll just fly by those.
Yeah,
if you want me to.
faster.
We gotta get pictures of Scott and Anna.
Where's your photo?
We're not
Smile.
on there.
I'm okay with it.
Are they just names?
Sad.
Yes.
I'm gonna enter a request.
Sorry, home phone numbers that they
Maybe on the
need.
second term.
Kate,
of
how old is that? That's
We may be asking for new pictures. These pages also, these are just migrated from the existing site, and we do plan to redesign them and update them and make them prettier. We just
Can you make me prettier?
Think
Prettier. We like that.
Well, it's a loaded question.
We'll put that.
He does have that capability because
That's right,
he's
we will
like, I
filter.
like to shoot you just before school because you're usually tan and your highlights are in. So he talks to me and makes it better. So, he has that capability.
All about it.
So
That in Photoshop.
So that's kind of anything else on the homepage I should touch on? Or should we show on the others?
I hope you also notice the bottom has our directions, like the Google people can, if they're trying to come to an event at the high school or Wyndham Middle School or Jordan Small, now it's linked so you can get directions. So.
Yeah, it jumps right up.
That's cool. Talk to me a little bit because you had hinted a bit about listserv and how that might go away, and I don't understand how that works.
It's not. I'm not saying we designed it. What we did was we made sure there's enough between events
Right.
and calendar
Right.
and request forms
Right.
that you can decide how necessary it is.
It's an option. I think that we have to unroll this, get people used to it, get people going there. It may morph over time
And see what we need.
and see what we need.
My thinking is the more people we drive to the website for more reasons, the more they see all the other stuff we're going to be putting there. So traffic, any kind of traffic we can take away from other things and shove here is a good thing. Okay.
Looking for the one-stop shop.
Right.
So there we go. So here's the high school. Again, this carousel at the top is unique to the high school. We populated with their pictures, and so they don't have to look at the kindergartners. They have their own calendars and news.
So is each individual building responsible for refreshing the pictures? You'll be doing that.
Yes, I mean if they have a picture, they can do it. No, if they have a picture, they can do it. If they don't, they can submit the material through the webmaster form and request a photo be added, and then we'll generate a photo. These photos that are on here now are all from the archive stuff I've been building over the last few years. If you notice, they're a little soft because they were grabbed out of video that worked. They were perfectly fine for our old site. They don't really hold up for the new site because the resolution on the new site is so much better. So we'll be looking to replace all the photos over time.
Oh, good. Yeah. Because most of those kids have graduated.
Well, the ones I keep trying the website to keep within the last school year. It's just that for this purpose, I needed to find more stuff.
Yeah.
And you notice there's a funny shape here too. And so we have to actually shoot pictures that are formatted to fit in this hole. Yeah. And not all the pictures I have are formatted that way.
We wanted you to see it with pictures because.
Right. And it'll be faster, right?
It can be as fast as we want. It's the problem we have right now
She means loading. You mean like the whole site loading?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
That's an instant.
The whole thing is hosted off-site, and
they actually can choose how many seconds the picture is there before it loads.
Maintain the servers.
Yeah, we won't have the lagging. Wait
the headers waiting for that.
Just run it by Marge, make sure it's not too bad.
I will. You will check with Marge.
So the high school is just.
You don't have to worry about. I live in a hole, and everything buffers down where I live forever and ever. It doesn't matter what I'm on.
The high school is very much where. Let's take a look. Skip that. Yeah, so they have their own carousel at the top, their own events and news down the side. These menus on the side here, these parents, students, these are different for every school also. So those links are different with the location you go to, so because the schools don't all have the same links.
Chosen by the schools.
They're chosen by the schools. They had input into what those said.
Right now, I think you can still do it. You can go in Parent Portal, and you can all of your kids come up under one drop down, no matter what school they're in.
For Infinite Campus?
Yeah, Infinite Campus.
Yeah, that's not.
That won't change.
That won't
This
change.
is just
okay.
This is just to get you there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Because it would be horrible if you had to go to every school to find.
Agreed.
Oh no, that's
Once
Okay.
you log in, you're good. It's just.
What else is different here? Oh, and they have their own video player at the bottom, just like the other things.
Does each school have its own map?
Yes, the footer on the bottom is unique to each building, and the address information and all that kind of stuff is different. Okay. The thing that doesn't change is up here at the top. This bar up here are pinned, so that no matter what school you're on, you can still get back to the district home, the main directory, the calendar, and other things, regardless of where you are.
Cool.
So let's look at, so is the middle school.
It's set up the same way. So as a parent, you're going 4 different schools. You're not trying to navigate 4 different designs.
Everything's in the same places. It all operates the same way.
So,
That didn't load.
what is your implementation timeline?
When can I sync my calendar?
That's a little bit of a challenge right now, that we have to do some training with teachers and administrators. It still doesn't work completely. Right now, when the carousel pictures, for instance, when they change pictures, it reboots the site, the page. So if you're on the bottom of the page and it rechanges pictures on the top, it jumps you back up. So there's some bugs there we have to sort out. We have to build. How many teachers are there here? They're all going to get a teacher page. So Those have to be sorted out, and we have to have training with teachers on how to generate their pages and how those can be different and better than they were before.
What does that training look like? I mean, is that scheduled for beginning of the school year?
We're wrestling right now with, we're trying to get it into those last 3 days of the school.
Oh, okay.
We're actually, Natalie has spent a lot of time negotiating with administrators over time. We're presenting to administrators next week in the A-team to try to show them just how much time we need. Because I think we ran into a little thing with one of them that sort of said, well, I can give you 15 minutes. And I was like, no, that's not going to happen, because he didn't want to give up the whole block. I can give you 15 minutes of it. It's like, no. So we're going to have to go through some of this and explain just what's involved in the training. Teacher pages, by the way, are generated off the directory. You go to the directory, you select teacher A in the directory, and it launches the basic teacher page immediately. That teacher page, our thought, it will have possibly a photograph, teacher's name and contact information, and a hidden email.
And that's the directory of pages.
No, but that's the first thing you see when you hit the page. That will get generated.
The teachers will get to build their own pages.
Well, yes.
And so that's what will be in the directory.
Okay, that's what's in the directory.
So we're looking at May, we're doing the admin training, and the designees from the schools to get them familiar with the calendar and how they're going to be accessing docs, so that as they work on them, they automatically publish on the website. And then we're looking at doing the teacher trainings at the end of the school year. And during May and June, we as a team will be working on making sure all the documents are getting loaded to the website, and also going through and just doing quality control, finding where those bugs are, what's working, what's not. That's probably going to extend to the summer, and we're expecting the website to go live for next school year.
Now, will every teacher be required to, actually looking at you, to have a page that's current? I mean,
in policy, they are now, right?
Our opinion is that we should all have a representation page.
Yeah, I think
A lot of the kids, or a lot of the teachers, once they start to see how easy it is to build the pages, I think they'll embrace it anyway, because it's going to be a good landing page for their students and parents to be able to come and get contact.
You're going to be able to link to their Google Classrooms from there. You're going to be able to link to their calendars. Richie has a great presentation on how if they get their classrooms working out right, a snow day isn't a snow day. I mean, you can teach through the internet.
The kids will love that.
Through your Google Classroom. There are no kids here.
There was an instance.
We have one.
Days, Miss DiDonato, 6th grade at Wyndham Middle School, was actually on her Google Classroom one morning. She's like, I was drinking my coffee, and then all of a sudden I get this message from a student at 7:30 in the morning wanting to know where their warm-up question was. She didn't tell the kids to go to her Google Classroom. This is obviously an outlier, but if you start getting the students, get the students using that classroom, they wind up going to check it on their own, just like you and I do. We go check places that we visit frequently to see what's new, and that's the hope. We get them to a culture where they start using this, even if it's just for a blended classroom.
So let's not talk about snow days. Let's talk about a child that has a 10-day extended illness.
Yes.
In Boston, can actually have a legitimate classroom experience through that teacher page.
And teacher pages are a second wave. We are really we got to get this up running, parents, community, that we need to move our teachers into it. And I think the way that they presented and the tools that they've crafted will make it easy. There will be a panic. People will be like, mine are on here, and it's like, oh God, I can't wait to do it. But then you start getting a little overwhelmed. But I think that if you just take a piece of it and do each chunk, and the support that this team provides is just phenomenal. It's going to make it so much easier. It's just getting over that piece.
Not kidding. We hope to offer our teachers 3 options, so they can either build a new page using this program. Many of our teachers already have gone out and built on other platforms, and they have really robust websites, in which case we'll just offer them the opportunity to link from this page out. And then those that are using Google Classroom, that often serves as their website, and it will embed right into their teacher page here. So that's what we're going to be talking to A-Team about next week, with the hope that that will work for them too. And then that's some of the options that we present to the teachers, and give them training on whichever avenue they want to go down, how they would do that.
So they don't have to start from scratch.
Right.
Exactly.
And then new staff coming in. we would have a platform set up for new staff as they come in.
Right.
They'll have options.
Yeah, good.
The other thing I didn't want to forget to mention is that by contract we had enough sites available to us because Catan opted to keep theirs the way it was, that we decided to build an entire site for RSU 14 athletics, which is what I'm showing you now. So team pages and all those kind of things can live right off this.
That's good. Yeah, that's high interest.
Right, and again, we want to point people to one spot.
Right, instead of you have to go to Facebook for this
Right,
one. you
right.
have to-
And again,
And then who has the real news?
right.
So.
And again, she is Marlene and Rich will have all the same options that a school would have. We've built in some middle school athletic tabs, and we're going to encourage Jordan Small to link through also at some point. So we built that in also.
So one thing with the news is it does have the capability to send out a news blast, and it would cover every website with one submission. So if we have no school because of snow days, then we send out that blast, and it takes over the news feed and puts a header at the top of every website.
Right.
So you could get up and just open up your child's webpage or the district one, and you'd see we have no school. You can still hear from Mr. Prince, but it might be another way to.
Yeah,
and, and the other thing that's nice about that also, this goes back to Google Docs, is that prompt that you put out about no school can be saved as a Google Doc. You change the address, and it goes out again. You don't have the date. Minor changes in information, it goes out again. You don't have to recreate that every time, make it a PDF. We can put bullets on the screen too. Put those, I can't remember what they call them. She showed us those bulleted information that we can put up. We can put temporary information up on emergency stuff. So we could take the page over to real words.
So if you put the news blast up, school's closed. He doesn't have to call. We could call him at 1 morning.
Yeah, his phone number is going to be on here. So I think
it looks really clean to me. I mean, I go on other schools' websites quite a bit, and this looks very clean and easy to maneuver. It's not.
It also will on any device shrink and make.
Yes, I can actually show you
that, which I loved because you could pull it up on your phone, on your tablet, and it will actually not be distorted. You have the same as they do this piece.
That's cool.
It's responsive to mobile view.
Thank you.
So that's
the proper
a
term.
cell phone or a tablet.
Yeah,
that's great.
Right. So no matter what device you look at it on, it is also ADA compliant in that all the videos get closed captioned automatically. The photos, anytime you put up a photo, you put alt text on it, so that a blind person using an app that's dictating the material they're seeing, anytime you put up a photo, it prompts you to add a piece of text that will be read to the viewer.
That's really cool.
And it has a diagnostic device built into it that we can turn on and off to see if there's anything. It'll highlight anything that's not ADA compliant, so we can fix it.
Wow, impressive.
So that solves that looming. Dawn had we were looking at that for next year, and that's solved right in the software.
That's right.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
If I missed anything, if you missed anything, I want to do a quick plug for these people. Christine asked me up front after those early meetings if I'd be willing to work on this and take part in it, and then she put all these people on it. And knowing now what I know, this would have been horrible without these people. This is the best collaborative relationship I think I've ever had on a project. And this went because we never argued, we never had any. I mean, it was just we're very opinionated, and we're very stubborn with it, and we're very stubborn, and we're not easily pleased, as the Edley folks I think could tell you. We correspond frequently. We're not easily satisfied, but it's been a great time, and Christine did a really nice job putting this together. I think it went really well.
Well, I think it's so important because our website is probably the first face that people see. And if it's easy to maneuver and professional looking and so clean and just fresh, it's really puts us a step forward. I really like it.
Great.
And I'm excited that Gary is going to stay at the helm, monitoring, watching, so that things happen. People get busy. You know, so they have methodically thought up of the steps and the places to cover. And he knows that the rest of them are here. We're all here as a resource, but these guys are on the ground with teachers and hear things. So between them, they work it out, they figure it out, and they produce what you saw.
They do want to go back to doing their jobs.
I know.
Natalie likes to remind me that she has another one.
They get to hear about that next.
That's right. Then you'll hear what they're doing next.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank
That's
you.
very impressive.
I have a couple of questions.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Good
I'm
questions.
sorry. I could have asked for questions.
So, Gary, how much time do you anticipate on spending during your day-to-day regular activities that you will have to do to this new website?
Over the summer, most of it. I'm a year-round employee, so I do have this summer to work.
Yeah.
And I plan to do a lot of this behind-the-scenes stuff over the summer, so it's ready.
Okay.
I could see this being, depending on the cooperation we get out of the schools, it could be half my week.
Half your week?
Possibly. If I'm generating all the photography, all the news items, and that's fine. I think that we'll just have to reprioritize how video and stuff gets done. What's important, what isn't important, what needs to be done.
Okay.
And some of those events that I'm shooting now on video and making little videos out of, legitimately would be better served with a photograph. They don't require a video of them, and you cover more things with a photograph. That's my thought.
Okay.
It's a lot of the events, you show up. This morning they had the all students ACEs, all
students exercising
simultaneously. There really isn't a video to make out of that. I mean, for 10 minutes they did jumping jacks and stuff. So I attended, but really what I want to take out of that is a still photograph of the website. Okay. So I could attend 15 of those in a day instead of spending the time trying to figure out how to turn it into a 2 or 3 minute video that's halfway interesting. Okay. So I think there'll be a balance there. Yep. They can make really good use of my time.
Yep.
And still support the district mission and still do professional development work and the bigger video projects and some of that stuff. Plus, with all the devices you have in schools now, some of the little things I've done over the last couple of years could be done by teachers on in classroom devices. So I think there's a good marriage available here of time. We'll find out.
So do you not feel as though that this additional workload will overburden you?
Well, Sandy and I talked about it up front, Sandy and Christine and I, and talked about striking a balance.
Yep.
And acknowledging that some things didn't really require the kind of attention I was making. Okay. So with that acknowledgement up front, I think it's fine. Okay. Like I said, we'll find out. But I think it all the stuff I've been doing for the last few years is actually material. I've been providing content to the webpage, so it's not that different. Okay. Now I'm actually controlling the container the content goes into. And so I don't see it as being that different. Okay. Well, more
time will
different.
tell.
We'll find out.
Well, we do have a new part coming under mine, which Gary and I dreamed about a year ago. We want to have a professional development page where a teacher could say, I want to go over conferencing and writing in 4th grade. And Gary is providing the footage of Melissa teaching and providing that PD that she's already doing. He's going to capture it, and then we want to house it so that at any time, any of our teachers could go and see a mini lesson on math, writing, something that they're doing, and put those in an area that's organized that a teacher, an educational technician, anybody can go and see. And then, of course, these two you're going to hear what they're going to do, but working in like professional development, a way to capture those hours, and that way they have PD at any time, anywhere, instead of the only days that we have.
Well, providing our own back, similar to what you do with Drummond and Woodson, where you do all those training videos they provide them to. We can capture a lot of the things that are happening in the district and provide them new staff. Anybody who wants to refresh, you go to, how many things have you ever gone to where you can take the right notes?
Right.
And you wish you could see it again. Well, some of those things we'll be able to see again. I am speaking for myself.
But you think about the discrete skills, like how do I do blends? Like what are the sound? Like you have new teachers coming in and they want an update on some pieces, and it could be a 2-minute video on a teacher we were going to do for Jumpstart the sounds in the newsletter that parents hear, like, what is the bee? What sound does the bee make? And having somebody give that correct information that's vital to our kids. And a parent might not know that either. So, even our new teachers coming in, those little things that, if you didn't get to the training, you missed it, and we're doing the same training again next year. How do we capture and give a blend? We're trying to blend learning for our staff as well.
It's occurred to me we have to have a few of those short ones for substitute teachers too.
Right.
Emergency training, emergency training, things like that for subs. Take 5 minutes before you start a class and watch these 2 videos. So
that's a great idea.
And bank it all on the website.
Yep. Great idea.
I guess the reason why I asked that question is probably for the simple obvious. I don't want to say a year from now, man, this is way too much for me to handle all by myself. I need help.
Yep. Now,
because you guys are already, I feel like you guys are already short-staffed as it is. I don't know if this district can really afford to hire somebody just to manage the web page.
Now,
that's my concern.
With that, Leo, they provide some really good user interface so that whenever we go to train, like say the secretaries at the middle school, she's already doing the news blast, doing a newsletter. I'm going to show her how she opens up the tool, and Leo puts in her news, hits the save button, it puts it on there. She's also going to have the same tools to add pictures, like Gary said, if she wants to. So theoretically, each school could totally control what needs to be changed on the website.
In the calendar and the news sections, the really big banner, the hero shots at the top of all these sites, we want to make sure that all that stuff is done really well. So I do think that there's a middle ground that'll work well.
Okay.
I've been here, this is my 6th year, I think.
Yes.
And I think I have a pretty good handle on what things take for time and there are things that have gone away and things we've added. I think this will work in really well.
Okay, great. I guess my next question is, how much did all this cost?
I don't remember what I can get to. I think. Yeah, somewhere. Search for it.
While you're looking for that, how long will they provide support? Like, do we have a contract?
We have a contract.
Yeah, we have a contract.
And a subscription. Where was it?
Maybe that's something you can do.
That would be fine.
Yeah, because somewhere here I have the contract. It was a certain amount of money up front that included the design, and they gave us 9 platforms, the design help, and some other stuff. And then there's a yearly maintenance, tech support, and hosting. And I have it somewhere, but I don't know exactly where I put it.
Ballpark, or do you want exact?
Both.
Yeah, I'd like exact, actually. I'm kind of curious.
I could actually send you I could email you the contract so you could actually see what we agreed to, if that would work.
Yeah, I'd be interested in that. Is this something that the board voted on, or is this something that
I would imagine it's in there.
is it in whose budget did it come out of?
It came out of the technology budget. It came out of the technology audit as well. It was one of the pieces that needed to be attended to.
All right.
And so the funds were in there. I believe it went through the technology lines for the upstart, and then it was assigned to me to work with the team to do that piece. So.
Okay.
I think it was last year.
Yeah, it was.
Must have been last year.
It wasn't.
It wasn't. No, it wasn't this one. It was last year.
So it might have been part of the strategic plan, the third goal, which is
it was the third goal. Yep, and that was a big piece that technology for
community
learning
driven as well as
Oh, you got it.
There it is.
Got it.
Set up custom design solution. 1-year fee was $3,000. Annual fee is $4,800. As an add-on for forms and text and voice messaging. So the total for the first $9,600 for the first year, and it's a $6,600 annual fee. We did look at multiple companies. This wasn't the cheapest, but it was nowhere near the most expensive. One of the ones whose work we really liked was 4 times as much money. And we couldn't justify the cost versus the advantage they would give. And they were a more sophisticated company. They did offer some things that were more sophisticated, and some of their design work was a little bit better, but not $20,000 better. So
Right, no, we joked. I was like, oh no.
yeah, so
The reason why I ask is because we are kind of going through the same thing at work, and we've got it budgeted at close to $38,000,
which is another thing that
websites
offer.
are not cheap.
Yeah. The other piece is we also Gary talked to all the other schools in the state who are using Edleo and other companies to find out what was the experience when you start with them. How responsive are they? Natalie and I went to Gorham and sat down with Dennis Crow and had a long conversation with him and asked all those, because once it looks great and pretty, but these guys had to make this work. And, I think Alyssa's been great, and I think this team has really picked different pieces that said, no, I'm sorry, this is what we want. You need to make it happen very respectfully, but they've really made it to the level that they wanted. So we've seen other ones that have the same company that they're just so basic. You can tell that the time that this team has put in for this, you just saw. You can go to other ones and it looks drastically different because it's what you do and how you upkeep it.
Gorham and Ellsworth both contracted with the same company. And they've had really good response on the tech side, but their design stuff is a little.
We reached out and asked how the support was after they created the websites to make sure that we weren't going to be left alone.
Were you happy with the response?
So far, they've been for the schools, absolutely.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I talked to the tech integrator at Ellsworth. The assistant high school principal is a good friend of mine, so I was able to link in and have like a normal conversation, not a tech conversation. And they're very happy with the experience.
Yeah. Okay.
I should look good.
Great. I only have one more question.
Really?
Good.
What's wrong with the Eagle logo?
The Eagle logo is actually copywritten and owned by the University of Southern Mississippi.
Really? Who knew?
Who
knew?
Well,
Call my relatives.
If it doesn't take a lot of effort to find that, the same design. The Roadrunner in Raymond is also the University of Southern California.
They can have it.
Bakersfield.
These were things we learned, Scott, as we were searching through, and what you needed to do to an image so that you were not breaking copyright.
The University of Southern Mississippi Eagle is almost exact.
In the Google search, it came up.
It is not uncommon in the screen printing world to be a little casual.
Got it. So is that
Southern Mississippi.
another agenda item for another night?
No, it is not.
No, we opted to take it off the website as the public face that gets seen possibly in Southern Mississippi.
Okay.
But what you do on a T-shirt here in town,
we don't control that.
Just know I was the one who was tapped to go in to see him to tell him.
But that's not uncommon. I mean, it's what, and the reason we did it, seriously, the reason we did it is that Amy spends part of every week teaching kids about digital literacy and copyright law. And and how to cite sources and all this other stuff. And here we are with a copywritten logo on our website, nice, big and proud, that we're not paying for or acknowledging the use of.
100% consensus amongst us that we could not put that on.
I think you made the right choice.
I do too.
Yeah.
So that's nice. That was where it came.
None of us did.
We did not. So it became this great discussion, and because Amy's background and this is what we do for our kids.
We didn't feel like we could.
We didn't feel.
No, I agree.
We didn't want to be in that position as well.
Right.
So
that was wise.
So how do you like the new logo?
Amy designed the new logo.
And Amy designed that. Amy designed this form.
Yeah.
We just needed something for the header bar.
Right.
It wasn't really intended to be like a whole new district anything. It was really just to have something.
I like it though. It's nice and bold.
It does work pretty well in print though. If you wanted to adopt it for other use, it does look good.
That's good.
There were lots of iterations of that as well. When we kept saying someday we'll sit and share, and we will have when we had how many long conversations, looking forward to just saying.
I think we had that logo in 10 different forms, shrink, bigger, smaller, different colors.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time on logos and text and colors and all that kind of stuff.
Well, it is red, white, and blue.
So, what's that?
It is red, white, and blue.
What is?
Our logo. The logo. The logo.
Kind of.
What do you mean, kind of?
I was gonna say,
it's a color. It's a shade of blue.
Yes.
It is not navy blue.
You're right.
It's good.
That's
but
Sandy's.
It's red, white, and blue.
Don't change it. It's good.
That was Sandy's input up front. He liked that color.
Oh, he would. That's because he has.
I had
it was the same day.
He has
also said, I don't like red because he had a red tie on.
Yeah. We did consult Mr. Prince on the choices.
I think it's good. Yeah. Well, thanks, you guys.
You're welcome.
Do you have any other questions?
Anything else?
For the...
No.
Great
Okay.
job.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Thanks for the opportunity as well.
Good work.
Great.
It's a lot of work.
And now to
Yeah, a lot of
continue.
work.
That's right. You want to save this dongle?
Yeah, I got one.
I just need a back.
Actually, next on the agenda,
That's right. They're not next, are they?
we have the technology integration piece. So Richie and Natalie get to stay.
I'm going to stay.
Natalie's a great leader, by the way. Having come in part of the way through the years.
You have yours?
I do.
Only because if I don't take it now, I'll leave it and I'll miss it tomorrow.
It's just what? So hot. It's
American Express card.
It's very hot. It's very warm.
You want to take a poll? Okay. Yeah. Sure, I will. All right, so I have mine. I'm trying to do a little, slide a little tech tip in. I have mine in the form of a hyperdoc, which is literally just a Google Doc with links to stuff, and I'm going to fly through it because time is precious. But you'll be able to go back and look at it when you want. And make the page a little bit bigger. So these are really my notes, but this link right here, if you would like to write that down, you can go back and visit this document and see the links that I shared within it. I went through this form that I keep up where whenever I have an appointment with a teacher, I sit down and talk to them. I try to help myself remember what it was that we talked about. So I went through and I just pulled out some of the projects that I've been working on with students and teachers. I do ask that you don't share the document because I haven't asked any of the students if it's okay if I share their stuff. Most of them will be okay with it, but
Is that QU?
yes, I'm sorry about that. So it'll
Could
be
you just read that off because I don't think I have it
sure
right either.
GOO.gl/94QU. So it is a hyperdoc, showcasing different projects I've been working on. Not a complete list, but I try to wrap it up in this. So I do have a website that I've created kind of as my resource library. I try to get all the kids to put it down as their favorite or bookmark it as one of their favorites. I do have a YouTube channel where I put all of my tutorial videos. This You Can Book Me link is so that teachers can fill it out. It adds it to my Google Calendar, so it lets me know where I'm supposed to be and when. Gives me a nice little 10-minute reminder to make sure I hustle through the landmine of a school to get to wherever I need to be. Put the weather on there because it's fun. One of the first things I was able to do, Natalie had her hands on a 360-degree camera, and this is a picture taken with the camera that we have at the middle school. You can put on virtual reality goggles and see yourself standing in the middle of this basketball court between Field Allen and the main building, just kind of for some fun to look at. And then I've got a request for tech tips. If somebody has a request, they can send me a little message there, and I'll take care of it for them. All of my links pretty much look the same. I have all things Google, set it up. These are all videos. These are tutorials. Most of them are a couple of minutes long. You click on them. You can watch them right here. You can go to the YouTube channel that I've created and watch them there as well. Some of them are basic, some of them are not so basic, some of them are some that a teacher asked me how to do something. I could not get to their room right then, but I could tell them in 30 seconds by recording my screen and using my voice. So I just turned it into a tutorial video, put it on the website. If I'm not able to help somebody right away, I can direct them to my page. I've been working on some projects with some teachers where they need some templates. Some of the templates I borrowed from other teachers in different districts. These are open for anybody to make a copy of and make them their own. Here's a Portland Press Herald spoof of a newspaper that I created, so kids can insert in their own text and pictures and make their own papers right in the Google Suite. A couple other things, but this is just my resource page. The YouTube channel, I originally created it because I want to do like a video blog, a podcast where I can start showcasing some of the kids' work. I haven't had enough time to do it. That's kind of a project for me, so I put it on the back burner. But that was my original intent, is to have a podcast where I invite the kids into the green screen studio and say, hey, what are you doing? Show me what you're doing. Show me what you like. Show me what you don't like. Just haven't got that for you. I've gotten a couple of little video clips in so far. Numerous lessons on the Google Suite showing the students and the teachers how to create posters, how to use spreadsheets, how to share docs with one another so that they can collaborate. Don't have to be in the same room. They can still work on their projects together. One of the biggest ones so far that I did started off as really because it's aligned for our math need. The NWEA scores were coming in. The teachers weren't 100% sure how to support their kids with their NWEA scores. So there's this document that goes home to parents, and it's not very friendly, especially when it's in a piece of paper. It looks like this. It does provide links for them if you look at the digital version, and it'll take them to the same places that I've created this website to do. But I've made a website where you can literally use this search button, type in a strand from the NWEA score that the kids did not do well in, and it will take them right to that spot on this website. So then, okay, it was geometry. Here's the RIT score. This is how you perform. You were under this. This does not take you to any content that I created. It takes you to Khan Academy. Khan Academy took it upon themselves to team up with NWEA and create this website. Kids having trouble comparing shapes, they click on it. It takes them to Khan Academy. The kids have support. That's not their teacher. And I tell the students, I'm like, look, sometimes you get tired of hearing from your teacher. Come listen to somebody else. Get a different point of view. Get a different way of explaining things. So that's worked out pretty good. I'm not 100% sure how many people use this, except I got a huge response from the Manchester math team over there with the Title I kids, because they use it a ton, and they were very thankful for it. So that's the NWEA Khan Academy kind of link up. Let's skip over that.
I noticed on your thing right there, and it makes me think back because we got rid of that computer class at the Wyndham Middle School because we thought kids didn't need how to type, and you put together a tutorial because the Wyndham Middle School's teachers asked for that.
So Typing Club, there's an application called Typing Club. Cool. I sent out a Google form to every teacher, and I said, look, give this link to your kids, ask them to fill it out. All it did was first name, last name, email, whose class you're in, and it created a spreadsheet for me so that I could dump it into this program. I had almost every kid at Wyndham Middle School signed up for the Typing Club. The 3 or 4 teachers that were really pushing for it used it. They were able to collect some data, but it kind of teetered out a little bit after a while because there wasn't a huge advertisement for it. But some of the kids liked it. Some of the kids used it. There was some data, but there wasn't enough for me to justify going to somebody and say, hey, we need a whole school program for this. Is it something that I think we could buy into as a whole that's necessary? Absolutely. But again, I told the teachers, if we don't get enough participation in the 90-day trial, I don't have a leg to stand on. So it kind of died out, but it was there. Went into some of the health classes. Kids were making posters, showed them how to use Google Slides to create those posters. Also showed them how to use Google Drawing, where they could be creative and create their own images. When I first walked into the room, they were talking about doing paper posters, and I was like, that's cool. Can we make them digital? So it also led into the ability of me to show the kids how they could kind of Photoshop their pictures using the tools that are built into Apple's laptop. In Preview, there's a pretty cool little toolbox that allows you some limited tools to remove backgrounds and other things that that don't need to stay there. When I first came here, there still exist drives on our network that Wyndham Middle School teachers save stuff to, so that way they have a larger capacity to save in. Being a huge Google fan, I took those folders, moved them into Google Drive, and whatever was in there at that time is now sitting in a folder on Google Drive. And I had at least 2 teachers come up to me and say, "Oh, I'm so glad you did that because I could get to my files from home." So I was kind of trying to prove a little bit of a point there that Google is pretty powerful and try to encourage teachers. Let's see. So Jordan Small Middle School, I have to brag on my 2, I call them my pioneers, Kulaw and Merrill. That's the health and the PE teacher out at Raymond. Not the 2 people that you would consider being technology driven. Merrill's gone paperless in her PE class. She started creating videos that show her kids how to use the different technique for the different sports. And it started off kind of as her needing some help with her technology and how to get her email on her phone and how to take a picture. But now she's taking pictures of the kids while she's in class, saving them into Google Drive, and then putting them into documents that she shares with the students that the students have to fill in. She went so far as to take I forget which playing field it was, soccer field, make a bunch of parts over on one side of a Google drawing. The kids have to drag them into the correct place and create a puzzle of the field. So now instead of the kids labeling the field lines, they're having to put the field together. She said the kids loved it. She took a test that was paper, made it interactive on Google Docs, and the fact that she was willing to do that, I think, spoke volumes of her. Kulaw, she also wanted to go paperless. And I went and hung out in her classroom several times and got her kids onto Google Classroom and started showing how she was changing all of her documents from physical papers that she had stacked on a table, printed out to hand out, showed her how she could take a picture with her cell phone, and that acts as basically a photocopier, puts it right into her Google Drive. So then she was able to share it in Google Classroom, and it's totally changed their attitude about how they are with the technology in their environment, because PE laptop probably doesn't belong, but it's there. It sits over on the side. The kids come in, do whatever it is for their warm-up. She's also played with the idea of having her Google Classroom introduce the warm-up for the kids. So she doesn't even have to talk to the kids. They come in, Google Classroom, here's what you need to do. They get started. They do their own thing. She now gets to observe. So I'm really proud of those 2. I also have my blog on here where I try to showcase some stuff. I'll point out one more thing and then I'll be done. I don't have a timer going. So
it's interesting.
So I created this one. It's called It's Alive. This is about the digital video studio. So I had this huge idea when I was in Waterboro for the last 2 years that we've got to have a green screen. The kids want to make videos. We need them to make videos. So as soon as I come over here, there's no green screen. I was like, oh. Then Ms. Hessler said, you have a budget, right? You have a couple of things you want to buy that you could use. And I was like, huh? Okay, budget. All right. So the first thing we bought, green screen studio. So this is like a muslin cloth in the background. It came with 3 studio lights as well as the setup for the physical green screen. So then we had a green screen. The kids were recording with their laptop webcam, using iMovie to embed things behind them on the green screen. But I have bigger ideas for these digital studios. Now, this isn't the current console over at the middle school, but both middle schools now have either a cart or a rolling desk that has 3 monitors on it. One monitor is a teleprompter. The students hook up their device to the teleprompter so that their script is right there in front of them beside the camera. There's 2 monitors for the computer that's functioning, the software. It's called Open Podcaster. It's legitimate studio software. You set everything up on one side of your screen, you hit the transition button, and now all of a sudden whatever's live is changed over to this new scene. Again, my goal, I'm trying to push Mr. Patton, who, if you haven't heard on his announcements in the morning, should be on television. He is so entertaining, and I would love to get him on a camera and let the kids get in there with him and start doing their own news video-wise. So here's kind of a look at the console cart. These monitors are kind of mounted, sort of, kind of. Here's a PC that's running the software. It's pieced together. It's kind of like a Frankenstein digital console. but it works. We've got a bunch of videos to prove it. Here's the JSMS Digital Studio console. So there's another monitor directly behind this one that allows whoever's sitting at the desk to be able to function the studio. I've also created an instruction manual, but I haven't had the guts to roll the instruction manual out to the kids. So in the middle, I'm kind of the video guy. The kids come down to the media center, and I'm sitting in there helping some kids edit, some kids record, some kids are doing some other stuff with coding. So I just kind of hang out and get to play all day, I guess. It's like playtime to me.
Do you have a picture, the one you showed me on your phone? Do you have it on here?
Which picture was it?
The girl in the sea of jellyfish.
Oh, all right. So examples.
It was kind of cool.
So I'm gonna I'm changing logins. Now I'm gonna be logged in as the Wyndham Media Center or the studio. And I have kids, whenever they need a background, put it in a folder, put your script in a folder on Google Drive, share it with the studio. I go into the studio computer, download their images, place it into the broadcasting software, and then let's see. Let me see if I can find one I like. So this is this student recorded the audio with GarageBand, used iMovie to lay over what looks like he's in a studio, and this was for our opioid epidemic lesson that they did in health class. You might not be able to hear it, but this is the unedited version, so please don't be mad at me, Colby. But it looks like he's in an actual studio, but he's standing in front of that green screen. And these are two kids that created this song that I don't think normally are as engaged as they are. And for this, they, although it doesn't look like it here, took it seriously. and I've even shared a couple other ones. So you can kind of see this one, we just kind of had fun. These girls had never seen the green screen, so I was like, well, go stand over there. You can be princesses for a few minutes. So they stand over there and freak out and have fun. So it's fun, but then we have, let me go back to my doc. There's a link to it there. Oh, yeah, I'm not in mine. So let me go back to my, there we go. There's a link. Right here, maybe. So we did a project-based learning kickoff with 7th grade team. They call themselves Team 777. It had a Back to the Future theme, and it's all about the PSAs for the opioid crisis. I guess I didn't link it there. Let me pull it up. I've got it on my desktop because I want to show you student work. So these, watch a quick little clip of it. Don't know if you'll be able to hear it though. So they were created by students, and they were very intense because these students had studied the opioid crisis and what could go on. We showed this to the 7th graders as part of their kickoff for their professional or project-based learning. We had an addict that was actually there as a speaker that talked to the kids about it, took some questions. And then at the end, we threw out this hype video about this is your job. So these kids were not in the bathroom when they recorded this. This was all done in front, well, not all of it, but this was done in front of the green screen studio. This little scene they did with their laptop. I'm going to fast forward and go to another one. This was really cool. The girls found a way to record their cell phone as they were texting. So they created this hypothetical situation where someone was trying to offer opioids to somebody, and that person was trying to tell them, no, I don't need it. But just the fact that the students were taking the initiative to go out and figure out how they could get a text messaging going, they were able to do it on their own. So if nothing else, it kind of drove them to do something else. So I'm proud of the green screen studio and the way that it's been functioning. Let's see, I think I'm done taking up time. Any questions? No. I'm super excited about the stuff that I do here. It is a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Very cool.
Quick, I'll go quickly. Rich, how long have you been with us?
Since October.
October. So you were basically okay. So I guess it's. I'm glad you came. I mean, we know a little bit of what Natalie does, and everybody at the high school knows what she does. But I think it's good to see how teachers can be supported by someone that can help them. And they're like, I want to do it, but I don't know how do I get involved? And you can kind of jump in and help them.
I have questions like that all the time, and I look at them and I say, that's the way I like to learn. because 9 times out of 10, I may have experienced it a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not a pro at any of this. I'm not a video guy, but I figured it out. And then I have students that come in and go trial and error with me, and we work it out together. But I've had several teachers come to me and say they need some stuff, and they're freaking out because they can't do it.
Yeah.
Let me come hang out with you. We'll figure out how we can get it to work out.
So you think that since you've been there, more teachers are using the technology than?
Absolutely. I think they're starting to get more comfortable because they realize that it's okay to make mistakes right in front of the kids because they're making mistakes in front of you. It shows them that you're human, and they're not afraid to push the button. And I'm a guy. Guys push buttons. A lot of the ladies are afraid to push buttons. Right?
Yes.
No?
As long as you're not asking for directions.
Well, I think we got a lot of explain that we would push buttons right or wrong. We push buttons.
True story.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Appreciate all your hard work.
I do have a question. Are you going to be coming to the Raymonds? Are you involved in any of those iMovies that the kids are doing?
Yes. So whenever I found out about the iMovie thing, Mr. Powers, who's in charge of this, he was so excited talking about how the kids do it. They've got a little sheet that they hang up on the wall. That's their green screen, and most of the kids have never experienced it. So now they've got a green screen. I went in and I showed Mr. Powers that you don't have to have the computer set up. You don't have to have the whole studio. You can just put up the lights and the green screen and use your device to record it. And the kids have been all over it. So there's been a larger influx in the kids recording in front of the green screen now.
That's great.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
And I also fell into an awesome team because Natalie sits in the driver's seat in our projects, and she's a great leader.
And she lets you push those buttons.
She does. She does, but then she tells me I have to stop, and I get all sad.
That is how we found out, what was it, the internal lights in your car that go purple and blue and red.
Oh, God.
He drove
We
his wife
bought a brand
nuts
new Kia. I'm
pushing
pushing
the
the
buttons.
button. It's daylight out. Can't figure out what's going on. She keeps telling me to stop, and I'm like, no, there's a button. You got to know what it does. So then we go out to eat later at night. It's dark outside. I start pushing the button, and all the lights in the floor and the cup holders are changing red, blue, green, off, red, blue. Oh, that's awesome. That's how I know she loves me. She puts up with me. That goes for Natalie, too. Yes, ma'am. Oh, I didn't realize it.
He lives in your neighborhood.
A very welcome addition.
So if you don't know me, I'm Natalie Scover, and I've been at the high school. This is my 4th year at the high school, but 3rd year as the instructional technology leader there. My 1st year I was a science teacher. And so 3 years into this job, I'm remembering what it was like to be so excited in my 1st year. I remember my first slide I'm going to take you through is actually how my job has changed over these 3 years, because it has been different every single year. And when I was originally hired, it was under the impression that I'm going to be going into classrooms and helping do technology lessons and meeting with teachers before and finding out what do they want to do to bring the technology into their classrooms, because at that time the MacBooks were only 1 year old. And then I'd also have a lot of time to be doing research about when they told me what they wanted to do, I could go figure it out for them, how to make it work, and then basically take the load off of them. And I had a lot more time for that in my 1st year than I do now, but I also have a much bigger toolbox of what I know about technology softwares now. So even though I don't have as much time for research anymore, I don't need it quite as much as I needed it that 1st year. So since yours was so fun, I'm going to go through this really quick so I can show you the fun stuff that we do at the high school too, because we do fun stuff at the high school too. But my 1st year, I really focused on classroom tech projects, but I didn't have all that many takers. We have 80 teachers at the high school, and I need to go back and look at my numbers, but even now 3 years in, I still haven't worked with half of them, I don't think, because it's time consuming to decide to do projects with technology. And so not every teacher does choose to do that. And there are those who are just really tech savvy who don't need to ask me for help. And so there are classrooms that I have not been in yet, but the number of teachers who I am helping this year has grown from last year and from the 1st year.
And one thing that's really nice is the teachers that I was working with the first year have wanted to do it again the second and the third year. And so I do a lot of teaming with Amy Denneker with the library because they have the research curriculum that they developed. And so there's a lot of teaming where teachers are starting to bring in the librarians to do research, and then they bring me in to have the kids turn their research into a product that is visually interesting and hopefully interactive. So we've had a lot of teaming going on with that. So that is something that has grown a lot. And then another part of my job is I've been doing quite a bit of troubleshooting of the technology itself with the teachers. They really like having somebody actually come to their room and be like, oh, I see what's happening, and let's try to fix it. And for the little things that, it's a problem you can fix in like 5 to 10 minutes, I'm a pretty good person to be able to help with that. If it reaches my limits, then I refer them off to the tech department and try to follow up with them later. But for little troubleshooting type of things, that has become a pretty big part of my job as well. And that started in the very first year. That's remained pretty even keel over the 3 years. And then my first year, I offered a lot of PD for teachers because the MacBooks, they'd only had them a year. They really hadn't received much PD with them that first year because there wasn't a tech integrator in the high school. That first year when I was a science teacher, we had one PD day in October when we had all technology sessions. And that was great. But as I started this job, I found out pretty quickly there were teachers who still had not done any kind of customizations. They really hadn't made the laptop their own. They hadn't explored it. And so I offered a lot of PD in that first year. I did lunch and learns once a week. I did after school workshops almost once or twice a week. I offered a lot of after school workshops for contact hours. And then also I lobbied Chris a lot for time on PD days. He's probably smirking behind me right now.
Right on.
I bug Chris a lot. And so we did a lot of PD that first year, but what I learned was the after school workshops and the lunch and learns, teachers, they didn't have much time. They really wanted things that were part of the school day. I would usually get between 2 and 4 people at my after school workshops. And so I was able to, dabble and help people. But overall, it didn't draw in big crowds. And so that is something that has waned a lot. I stopped doing the lunch and learns because teachers basically let me know they're 20 minutes they need to eat. And it wasn't possible to get through a whole lot in that time. And the after school workshops, it kind of waned to where I only got like one person sometimes. And so that just wasn't the mode that was really reaching them. What I changed over to seems really, really silly, but it's almost been more effective. I've started putting posters in the bathrooms with technology tips, and they seem to really like that. I need to be better about switching them out more. They're posted to the wall.
In the men's bathroom.
Yeah. By the sink. And so I need to be better about switching them out more often, but I've gotten a lot of really good feedback on those. And then I have been on district committees every single year, and that's kind of changed a bit. I was on the strategic planning committee that first year, and then Amy Denneker also invited me to be part of her library team. She had a group of teachers that she met with, and so instead of that being the library consulting team, I think it became the infotech team. And so we developed that. And in that first year, we started an event that some of you have come to called Books, Bites, and Bagels. Mm-hmm. And that's something that has evolved as well. In the second year, I did more classes, tech projects. I was able to expand out to more teachers. And that's something that is probably my favorite part of my job, because I do miss being in the classroom and having my own students. And so every time I get to go in and do lessons with them, those are my favorite days. That's the best part. I got more tech troubleshooting experience in the second year because I started helping with Infinite Campus a lot more as we started doing responsive scheduling. I don't know if you've heard about the Pride blocks we're doing at the high school. I became involved with helping with that. And then as we started getting into standards-based grading, that's in my year 3 thing. I do at the beginning of the school year, I did a lot more with Infinite Campus, working with that. And so I do offer less PD last year and this year, but I am working to try to still reach teachers, and I will be lobbying Ryan and Karen pretty hard for PD time next year. Accreditation and all the curriculum work just didn't make it possible to have much actual PD time with teachers these last 2 years, but you'll be hearing from me just like Chris does. And then the other things this year, we're bringing Richie in. As you can tell, he has a lot of excitement for tech stuff, and so he has been getting me working with more actual technology. At the high school level, the teachers are more interested in software than they are in actual like tech gadgets. I did not have a budget my first year, but Christine was able to get one for me last year, and I started ordering like Wacom tablets so that teachers could leave their computers on their desks and be going around and controlling their computer from out throughout the classroom, and some interactive whiteboard things that were pretty inexpensive. I started getting that kind of stuff, and what teachers really, really liked were the little remote controls that they could use to control their computer, which is not new technology at all. So they're really not as into the tech tools at the high school, but they're really interested in the softwares that students can use to make projects. And so that's what I've been focusing more on. So I'm going to show you some of the tech projects, but I wanted to point out that at the high school, and Richie has this as well, and the 2 librarians at the high school have this, we have a digital booking calendar where teachers can go into our calendar, see when we're available, and directly book into it so that they know that we're available, and it tells us where they want to meet, what they want to meet with us about, so that we can prepare ahead of time. And so that's something that we have all found to be pretty helpful in the last couple of years. And so that lives on my website. And so I wanted to show you on the website, this is very similar to what Richie's done. His first year, he has made this huge trove of resources for teachers. I did that as well. All of my workshops that I held, all those materials are on here. I've got tons and tons of staff resources in all different areas. This is something that hasn't been updated quite as much this year, and with the rollout of the new website, that's going to get changed. And I'm still trying to decide if I'm going to roll this over to EdLeo or keep it, because I kind of like it.
Decisions.
Yeah. So the class projects that our students have done, I have its own separate web page for this, and it's broken down for what they've done the different school years. This year, we have done quite a few different types of softwares. I have a spreadsheet, so I keep track of what teachers using what kind of software and what grade level they have. So hopefully, if there's a teacher who decides to do digital flip books, we go in and do them, and then there's not a teacher 2 months later who wants to do digital flip books, and it's the exact same students doing the exact same type of project. And so we've got a pretty large variety, and we don't have a whole lot of overlap. So students are learning new skills, and that's one of the big things that we really push for, is for them to become really good native learners and go exploring things and trying to figure things out, and not just sticking with Google Slides all the time because they know it really, really well. So you can see that the Apex research projects that we did, Apex is a class that we have at the high school. And Chris, I don't know how to describe this that well, but
it's an alternative education class.
Thank you. I should have been able to come up with that. They're really small class sizes. And so they were doing their own research projects. So again, pairing with the library. And some of them were looking up careers. This was a student who is actually over at the Volk Center studying welding. And so all of his pictures that he put in it were pictures of himself welding. And so they were able to make it pretty personal. This was a student who has type 1 diabetes herself. And so she was doing research on that and reporting out on it. So that was a bit of a variety. The art portfolios are all the same software. The teacher there has, I think, 3 different classes where he wants his students to start putting their work on a website, and that's what he goes to grade their work at. So it's not just him sifting through the piles of artwork in the room. It's they need to learn how to showcase their work. And so we had lessons in that. The digital flip books were done on cancer and disease research. If any of you came to our school board breakfast a couple months ago, there were students presenting on that. The career interest projects, we've had multiple teachers doing career interest projects this year, and it's interesting how they've focused it because we have a math teacher who had students doing research on that, and they had to look at how is math involved in your particular career that you want to go into. And it wasn't just, oh yeah, I'll have to be able to do addition. It was, these are your list of topics we've studied in pre-calculus. Figure out how you're going to use at least one of these in your job. And so they had to be pretty specific with that. And then we also had a standard English class, I think it was the 12th grade one, where they were looking up their research or their careers that they would like to go into and what it would take to do that, what would be required of them. We have a rock climbing class that does a climb a mile tracker. Every time the students climb the rock wall, they have to log it. And so those are class-wide results. The students are supposed to try to climb 5,280 feet in the quarter that it's a class. We've been doing comic strips. We've been doing timelines. There's been Great Depression research projects, interactive posters, literary digital journeys, and then our 360 virtual reality tours. And I wish I had time to actually go through and show you all of these. But I'm going to say that if you would like to visit them, there's a website that you can go ahead and look at, because every single one of these has a whole bunch of student projects that you can flip through and take a look at. The other thing I'd like to point out on here is student project options. Before I go into a class, I always have to meet with the teacher and talk about what is it that they want as their outcome. We don't usually target a type of software. We look at what are you wanting the students to do, and then we figure out what software goes along with that well. And so we have curated an entire website of our most often used softwares. Is not the only softwares, but through that infotech team that Amy and I both had with teachers, we found out that a lot of the softwares they want to use are not free. A lot of softwares are not free anymore. And so we started an infotech subscription fund, and teachers can apply to receive funds from us for that. And that allows them to use the exact software that they want in their class. And we are then going to be doing reviews with them. This is the first year we've had that running. And if we found any really, really good softwares, we'll be looking at getting possibly department subscriptions or possibly school-wide subscriptions instead of individual teacher subscriptions. That's something that we've already done with Pear Deck. We have a Pear Deck subscription that's grades 6 through 12, and that's a digital formative assessment tool that teachers can use. So, in a really quick nutshell, that is what I've been doing for the past 2 years.
I am going to share one more thing that these two have started, because when I first started here, one of the pieces that we were really talked about for this board is digital citizenship. And so Richie and Natalie have taken the Common Sense Media curriculum for grades 3 through 8, and they have infused it, and that all of our teachers will be doing a training before they leave school on digital citizenship. And so there will be 5 lessons per grade level all the way through. And then Natalie, after next year, will pick up the ball for the other piece. I was at Jordan Small yesterday. Both of them did their training, and they actually have the teachers log into Google Classroom. So if they've never done it before, they got to be a student in a Google Classroom. They did the training that they have up on the screen. So Natalie and Richie did the entire training with the staff. They taught them how to upload their certificate, which will then in turn show us who has done the training, who gets the contact hour for it. You also see that the title of this is called RSU 14 PJPD. We talked about like anytime you could do professional development. And they shared with all of our teachers that they are now building a suite with other schools in the area where you will be able to log in and choose a course and do the course along with videos, handouts, materials that they will monitor, and that a teacher can go through and have a professional development course on Google Classroom and get those credits for it for contact hours. But they can do it at any time they want. They even joke that when Sandy sends out the snow day that I should follow up with it. Don't forget, you can do PD. I'll send your PJs. But just another way that they're using the technology to provide our staff with learning at any point. And so teachers who are very nervous about going into Google Classroom yesterday, left like, I can't believe how easy this is. I want to try this with my kids, because in order to do the digital training, they had to go through the process with these two, and every step of the way they showed them what to do. So it was really exciting. I mean, nobody likes to do a mandatory training. These two have crafted out all different schools' times to meet the needs of all of our staff, and they're there. And when you can make it, we want you to grab one and get that done before we leave for summer. And the conversations with staff who have done it they're understanding the huge importance, because it brings up those topics of how do we talk to students about digital citizenship? What does it mean? And the topics are relevant to the grade levels that they're in. This is huge. This is a huge part of our work that we're doing. So now we can ensure, I can literally say to you, we have a 3 to 8 scripted curriculum for all of our students in digital citizenship. So, and thanks to these two. So I know it's not exciting as the other stuff they showed you, but equally, if not more important.
The impact is going to be
huge,
way bigger than any of these other things that we're doing with the projects. One of the teachers, I made a comment to him. I said, it should be reassuring to you that you're going through digital citizenship training. It's a tutorial about how Common Sense Media curriculum is set up, but after next year, it means every student that comes into your room that's been in our district will have had at least 1 year of digital citizenship, where they've sat with an adult and talked about all these different topics about protecting yourself and when to share and when not to share. Because we have a huge culture of kids that aren't being told straight up front that, look, this is permanent. They may hear it, but they don't believe it, or they don't buy into it yet because they haven't figured out that we're telling them the truth. So hopefully this is going to be a way that we can shift everybody's mindset as far as digital culture.
The other piece for the staff that was a big relief for them is they don't need to create the lessons. They're done for them. And not only are they done for them, Richie created our own webpage for RSU 14 teachers that they can go to their grade level, and everything is there for them to see, view, print the family letter for every lesson that they will be doing. So they've made it really great for teachers in supporting them.
One other thing that came with our collaborating about digital citizenship, we also did a survey of all grade 3 through 8 teachers on their students' tech skills. We wanted to assess, since students are 1-to-1, currently grades 4 through 12, and next year grades 3 through 12. We wanted to know where are they at right now, so we can focus on not just digital citizenship, but what are the specific skills we need to make sure we're developing in our students at age-appropriate times. I forget how many questions were in the survey. I think it was like 26. And we have a graph for every single one of those. So when we share this with you, there is a link there that you can go, and if you haven't viewed these results yet, I don't know if they've been introduced to you, you can. This is completely teacher input, how they feel that their students are. This one shows keyboarding. All grades have been introduced to keyboarding. Not many teachers feel that their students have mastered or even become proficient in keyboarding yet. So we've identified that as one of our deficiencies. But the graphs are pretty telling. I'm
going to go with the reason why the 7th grade is raised up is that 90-day trial of the typing club.
Probably. That's a direct correlation right there.
But Natalie and Richie have taken apart what are the skills and how do we support our teachers. So they've gathered the information, and now they're going to set a plan in motion. So.
One last plug I'd like to do about the collaborating that we've done together, besides the PJPD and the digital curriculum and the tech survey. We've also been working on Google Expeditions, trying to get devices to do virtual reality tours. So far, it's only been rolled out in a couple classrooms at the high school because we only have 6 of the virtual reality goggles with devices right now. But so far, it's been really well received. Teachers like being able to take their students to somewhere else and teach them about that place. And then last week we had Google bring in their augmented reality visit. And if you didn't get to stop by and see it, this is very similar to what students saw. Basically, it's getting 3D objects through their devices. And it was mostly science lessons, but we had teachers from different content areas as well.
The elementary kids came over and did weather and dinosaurs and loved it. And then we got the high school kids doing dinosaurs and weather, and they loved it. And then we got some of the teachers doing dinosaurs and weather, and they loved it.
Yeah, we had a day at Wyndham High School and primary school, and then they were at Jordan Small for a day. So we were very lucky that we had them come in to do that.
Each of those students were 1 in a million that got to beta test the Google augmented reality. That's Google's goal, is 1 million students for their testing session. And we got to be a part of it.
Well,
Awesome.
I'm really impressed with the work both of you have demonstrated here tonight, and given the numerous discussions about technology and devices that we've had recently for the budget, we spend a ton of money on technology, and I'm delighted to see how it's being supported both with the students and the teachers. And I know I've seen you specifically at the high school, and I think you were with me too, for a couple that blew me away. One was the cancer, where the students came, and that project was superb. And then recently, what was the other one?
That was the breakouts. That wasn't really technology.
Well, I don't care. You use technology.
But next Tuesdays, I think it's going to be lunch with the school board next Tuesday, and that one is going to be some of the interactive posters that students created in health class on alcohol and STDs.
The thing I love though
Great lunch stuff. Well, one of them is.
Not together on one poster.
Well, thanks, you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, appreciate it. And I think,
While they're clean, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, I think it was really important to see this, and I'd love to have them come back. Maybe Natalie would do that interactive poster board for people to see if they can't always get there during the workday to see that. It's just, that was one I really liked, and there's others, I'm sure, just to see what technology in the classroom looks like. I mean, you gave us a great view of that, but something maybe a little bit more in depth if the time works out. It's great. But.
So we're going to blame it on the snow days.
Right.
We had some times where we were going to meet with you, and we had some activities that we were going to do with you
and
guys.
Prizes?
And
well, they were going to hold
course.
dinner from you until you did it. So that was
the only way that you could earn your dinner that night was you were going to have to make it through the breakout session.
Oh,
because he may have stole your dinner reservations. Or, we had a nice theme for the dinner theater.
Next time.
Well, next time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I am going to put a shameless plug in for Monday night at the high school is the district art show. Also the third grade chorus and the chamber singers will be singing. Well, we've added a new piece to that evening with the blessing from Mr. Howell. We're holding our first annual family evening of math and literacy games and functions for all of our students K through 5. So I have a great team that has worked, and students can come up to the open caf. They can find some literacy games. They can make some books. They can make some math games. It's a make it and take it. And so I'll pass this around. This has gone out to all our kiddos. We have some great raffle prizes. Everybody's welcome to come on up, and so you can hear the singers, you can see the art, and you can come do some math and literacy. But we're pretty excited. It's the first time that we've done this as an RSU, and I've got amazing assistant principals and Title I teachers and Title I staff coming to spend the evening and sharing some ways to help our parents understand how to also work on these literacy and math skills at home, and they can make some cool stuff and take it home and play with it. So I'm going to just pass these around. And
Monday night, you said?
Monday night, yep. It started at 5:30. We're going to set up at 5:30. We'll be ready for 6. So.
Thank you.
Thanks, Christine. Okay. Next on the agenda is the district office executive administrator contract. Okay. If I could have Sandy or Don fill us in some information about the length of the contract. You'd sent out a communication.
Happy to do that. Thank you. So just wanted to make clear to folks that the contract calls for a 2-year term initially, which goes for 2 years. So what would normally happen is you folks annually, as you know, meet with your superintendent and administrators, and a decision is made by recommendation to you from the superintendent whether or not to continue that extension. So normally speaking, it would be a 2-year. At the end of the first term, you would be extending that for another year, which would give it a second 2-year term. And if all things go well, then that next time you go for a 3-year for the executive team.
Okay.
Okay.
Alrighty. If I can have a motion.
I move to approve the employment agreement for Assistant Superintendent Chris Howell at the salary of $124,145, which also extends the contract to June 30th, 2020.
Second.
All those in favor? It is unanimous. Congratulations.
Yay.
Next item on our agenda is the RSU 14 Adult Education Modular Building. And I see that Bill is here. Love to have you come and give us an update on this, Bill.
All right, good evening. Bill Hanson, RSU 14, Director of Facilities. The information in front of you concerning the portable building for adult ed, that is for a building to house their current and future needs. It's a 42 by 64 is the other dimensions of the building. So it'll give them approximately a little more gross space than they have now, with the understanding that the intention is to have a kitchenette space they do not currently have, because they would not be part of the high school. So to me, it really becomes a net. It's not really a bigger space. It just would meet the needs that they would have now. We reached out to 3 different vendors for the portable: Schiavi Leasing, William Scotsman, and Triumph Modular. A couple challenges with that is that they all had the smaller unit. We looked at the 36 by 60. That I think some of you saw the layouts where they really did not meet the needs of the group. They all had a larger unit, which was a 48 by 60, which would not fit the site. Schiavi was the only one of the 3 that could get us a new unit that was the 42 by 64 that actually will fit the site space that we have. Now, I say that, I want to tell you that the reason we're here tonight is that I need to get that on order. And if you were flying and playing with me, and I was flying, I want to tell you, we're going to come in hard and hot when this comes in, because it might be the 2nd week of August it lands on site. It might be the 3rd week of August, and that's provided we get the order in tomorrow. So it's one of those things that, if we wait too much longer, we'll be until September before it comes in. So.
And the location, just so everybody knows.
Okay, yeah, the location is going to be actually not too far from where the adult ed is now. It will be on the grassy area that is by the adult ed parking lot, between the adult ed parking lot and the actual staff parking lot. I actually can share with you, I have some drawings that show the site plan, where there's sidewalk access to the uncovered canopy, direct, so there's no stairs. There's also sidewalk access down towards the gym. So it's a nice improvement to the way we're accessing that side of the space. So that's all part of the plan of putting it in place.
Question?
Yeah. This here is a lease purchase.
Correct.
At the end of how long do we own this?
It's a 4-year.
4-year.
Yeah. And to give you some comparison, if we looked at a 5-year lease with no purchase, the cost of the district would be about $180,000. So literally by having the lease, and I think my recommendation to the board for the lease is that I believe it's going to be a long-term need, lease purchase. I don't think it's going to be a year or 2. That's really why I feel we should go in that direction. And it's also that we're buying new, so we're going to be the first and only owner of the unit. So again, I think that's a good fit for a long-term solution for the use of the building.
So the first payment that's coming out of this year's budget?
That's a great question, Don. I think it's actually going to be next year's budget.
Next year.
Yeah.
This one is the second action
Yeah.
that is coming out this year. The second one.
Okay. Anybody else have questions for Bill about this before we vote? Okay.
Okay, I move to award a contract to Chiavi Smarter Modular Solutions, Oxford, Maine, to lease/purchase a 42 by 64 office instructional building.
Second.
All those in favor?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 7 in favor and Eric abstains. Yep. Okay. And if I could have another motion?
I make a motion that the resolution entitled Resolution to Authorize Lease Purchase of a Modular Building in the principal amount of $225,250 be adopted in the form presented to this meeting.
Second. All those in favor? Again, 7 and 1 abstain. Okay, thank you. While we have you, next item is the Wyndham Middle School modular classroom.
Right. If I could just add a comment on that about this last. So the process is we need to get the order in for the unit. The next steps would come in. We refine the floor plan. We're working with Tom and his staff to get that all finalized. So that's kind of where we're at with this. So really the urgency tonight, and I'm very thankful for you, was that we get our queue in the order. So I should know sometime kind of next week where we are with a delivery date, and I'll keep you up to date on that. So moving on to
excuse me. When you finalize that floor plan, can we see can we get a copy?
Absolutely.
Can we email us a copy? Thank you.
It will be somewhat similar to the plan that we had before on the smaller side, but again, I got to work with Tom and his staff to finalize that. With the understanding the big drawback was the 2 spaces that were too small. Right. The 2 classrooms really didn't meet the needs, but there was a kitchenette space and there was the office space, but the classrooms really were not there. And then we got to work on the details of the exits. I think the larger classroom will have to have a second exit out of the classroom. I'm working with PDT on that.
That'd be nice for everybody to see, because I was just with the facilities group. The rest of us haven't seen that. So
I'll leave copies with you that show the site plans for both portables, so you can have those after the meeting. Take with you. So the classroom unit, again, we did reach out to 3 different vendors for that. Both Williams, Scotsman, and Triumph had single classroom units that they could provide for us. They didn't lend themselves well to the plan to connect them to Field Down and make it part of the building. So, and really was trying to really focus on a way that we could reduce the transition steps between the 2 buildings, improve visibility as the transitions are occurring. So, Schiavi actually had a unit that had that center hallway that we talked about. So we literally can actually have a ramp now. If you look at this current space, there's a paved kind of walkway that comes up from where the blue portable is. Well, when the unit's in place, you can visually there'll be a ramp come from the unit almost in that same direction, headed back down the portable, and that will be where the kids will enter the Field Allen building going forward. So we're literally going to move them a good 100 feet closer to the middle school once you take away the front walk portion and the space that this building takes up. And the great thing will be is the teachers in those 2 classrooms will have windows that face that direction. So now we actually have some supervision that will be able to occur as kids are transitioning. So that is the recommendation here. It was a 3-year lease, not a purchase. And the reason for that really was around I'm really hopeful in this term of this lease that we're able to get our direction around where we're moving with our middle school. Okay. And with this wasn't a brand new unit though, it is going through a deep retrofit, so I'm comfortable it's going to be great for kids. One thing that I am doing for this is I have a separate RFP that went out on Monday night for an HVAC system for the 2 classrooms that will have dedicated makeup air, as well as the heating and cooling meets the filtration standard that we use in all our classrooms. So that's something that I'm not going to use the system that there was with the unit that was used. We'll put that in new. I think that's really important to do that as far as health and safety goes for the kids. So it's my recommendation that we go with a 3-year lease. In the event that our need continues beyond that, we found that out with the portable down at the bus garage. There is an option to do a lease buyout at the end of that portion should we choose to. Okay. But again, that's something that I'm really hoping in the next about 3 months we have a clearer picture as to where things are going to be going. So that's my recommendation to the board. We go to 3-year lease for that building.
Okay. And Sandy, if you could just give a little blurb on why we're using the modular. I know communications went out to parents and so forth, but for TV land viewers.
So as you know, we have a photography program that's been around quite a number of years. Fortunately, we've got a great relationship with the Times and the program is right there. However, the population has changed, and I think any person in education, the best thing that we try to do is mainstream kids back into the regular setting. And our population in this program at Katagi really warrants the opportunity to do more integration with the regular students at the high school. That's not to say that all those students in the Katagi program are going to be in the mainstream 100% of the time. But for instance, they may be able to take an art course or a science course. At this point in time, they just can't do that because they're so segregated from the high school. So it's a program based on what the staff at the Katagi program is at Noble High School, very much connected to the high school. Back and forth, kids can come and go. And Rich really feels, the director feels that this is the direction that we should take. So that's the premise of why we're moving in that direction.
In the middle school, just the population bump we had with the students. The purpose of the modular at the middle school.
Oh yes, it's enrollment burden.
Yeah.
We just need the space. And, hopefully, someday we'll get a new middle school so we can address it in that.
So that, I don't know if you guys saw it, but that communication just went out recently to parents and everybody to let them know why we're looking at this. Okay. Anybody else have any other questions? No? Okay. Sure.
Okay, I move to approve a 3-year lease with Shiabi Smarter Modular Solutions, Oxford, Maine, to lease a 28 by 68 classroom building at $1,650 per month, $19,800 annually, and $59,400 total, a 3-year term. Okay, the note here is that this lease requires a down payment of $11,250, which will come from the FY18 operating funds.
All those in favor? It is unanimous. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you. I'll leave these here if you want to pick them up. The copies
Okay.
of the site
Great,
plan
thank
for
you.
both. Just a note on the field island unit, it doesn't show the connector. It shows you a dotted line. The connector's not there because the site work was done by Stantec and PDT hasn't put the connector on it yet, but there will be a connector between the two of them that makes it so that the kids can enter and one end walk through the field. Okay,
Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is our second year teachers probationary contract status. Who volunteered? Okay.
I move to approve the superintendent's recommendation to grant second-year probationary status for the 2018-2019 school year to the teachers listed here. Elizabeth Harris, social worker at Jordan Small Middle School. Karen Roy, special education coach, Jordan Small Middle School. Alexander Adams, music teacher, Jordan Small Middle School. Rose Undercuffler, 3/4 music teacher, 3/5 music teacher, Jordan Small Middle School. Rachel Bell, 4th grade teacher, Manchester Elementary School. Margaret Sparrow, 5th grade teacher, Manchester Elementary School. Caitlin Plain, speech and language therapist, Manchester Elementary School. Katie Thomas, 5th grade teacher, Manchester Elementary School. Haley Durkin, grade 4 teacher, Manchester Elementary School. Martha Stone, guidance counselor, Raymond Elementary School. Allison Spearin, kindergarten teacher, Raymond Elementary School. Courtney Reagan, school nurse, Raymond Elementary School. Connor McNeil, special education teacher, Wyndham High School. Carol Hazard, 3/5 English teacher, Wyndham High School. Andrea King, guidance counselor, Wyndham High School. Benjamin Williamson, grade 7 teacher, Wyndham Middle School. Emily Higgins, special education teacher, Wyndham Middle School. Adam DeVoe, special education teacher, Wyndham Middle School. Richard Vickers, technology instructional leader, Wyndham Middle School. Erin Beal, 7th grade teacher, Wyndham Middle School. Emily Atwood, foreign language teacher, Wyndham Middle School. Lisa Kennerson, special education coach, Wyndham Primary School. Keely Trishetta, kindergarten teacher, Wyndham Primary School. Melissa Fries, grade 3 teacher, Wyndham Primary School. Shelley Roberts, speech therapist, Wyndham Primary School. Brianna Butts, grade 2 teacher, Wyndham Primary School. Olivia Latham, kindergarten teacher, Wyndham Primary School. Heather Knights, grade 1 teacher, Wyndham Primary School. Nicole Rogers, kindergarten teacher, Wyndham Primary School. Katrina Frost, special education teacher, Wyndham Primary School.
Second.
All those in favor? Thanks, Janny. It is unanimous. And now we have the third year probationary contract status for the teachers. Are you doing that one too, or do you want to take a break?
I am. I also want to say, go Allie, go Olivia, go Haley. Those are all former students of mine. Okay, I move to approve the superintendent's recommendation to grant third year probationary status for the 2018-2019 school year to the teachers listed here. Mark Chase, industrial tech STEM teacher, Jordan Small Middle School. Christina Fitzgerald, special education teacher, Jordan Small Middle School. Tracy Doyle, grade 1 teacher, Raymond Elementary School. Nicholas Vizier, chemistry teacher, Wyndham High School. Michael Levine, English teacher, Wyndham High School. Natalie Nelson, high school Latin teacher, Wyndham, is that high school Latin teacher, Wyndham High School? Jennifer Tabor, math teacher, Wyndham High School. Megan Fleming, guidance counselor, Wyndham High School. Thomas Offit, special education resource room teacher, Wyndham High School. Amanda Mayo, grade 7 teacher, Wyndham Middle School. Danielle Clark, grade 7 teacher, Wyndham Middle School. Lauren Gale, special education teacher, Wyndham Middle School. Corey DiDonato, 6th grade teacher, Wyndham Middle School. Jillian McDonald, special education teacher, Wyndham Middle School. Laura Trago, guidance counselor, Wyndham Middle School. Doug Elder, 7th grade math, social studies teacher, Wyndham Middle School. Jennifer Vasilauskas, art teacher, Wyndham Primary School. Chelsea Michaud, grade 1 teacher, Wyndham Primary School. Lindsay Arbor, grade 3 teacher, Wyndham Primary School. Casey Dubé, grade 2 teacher, Wyndham Primary School. Kristen Stover, grade 1 teacher, Wyndham Primary School. Alexander Jeffrey, special education teacher, Wyndham Primary School. Jenna Vermillion, grade 1 teacher, Wyndham Primary School. Katie Vieja, grade 2 teacher, Wyndham Primary School. Kate Griffin, grade 1 teacher, Wyndham Primary School. Carolyn Skarbinski, grade 2 teacher, Wyndham Primary School.
Second.
All those in favor? It is unanimous. Thanks, Janny. And now the teachers with continuing contract status.
Okay. I move to approve the superintendent's recommendation to grant continuing contract status for the 2018-2019 school year to the teachers listed here. Melissa Bois, special education academic interventionist district-wide. Adina Basilar, 6th grade English language arts social studies, Jordan Small Middle School. Paulina Angus, grade 5 teacher, Manchester Elementary School. Kayla Evangelist, grade 3 teacher, Raymond Elementary School. Lisa Smith, 1/5 physical education teacher, Raymond Elementary School. Allison Reynolds, math teacher, Wyndham High School. Kevin Roy, English teacher, Wyndham High School. Jen Shapiro, English teacher, Wyndham High School. David Samato, math teacher, Wyndham High School. I hope this is right. Ty McDonald, social worker, Wyndham High School. Dana Burbank, guidance counselor, Wyndham High School. Carrie Jolie, registered nurse, Wyndham High School. Natalie Flynn, special education resource teacher, Wyndham High School. Brandon Champion, social studies teacher, Wyndham High School. Adrian Schettenhelm, alternative education teacher, Wyndham High School. Denise Goulet, math teacher, Wyndham High School. Barton Seiss, assist special education teacher, Wyndham High School. Caitlin Sorensen, special education teacher, Wyndham Middle School. Joseph Pedro, industrial tech STEM teacher, Wyndham Middle School. Samantha Brink, special education teacher, Wyndham Middle School.
Second.
All those in favor? It is unanimous. The next item is report of the secretary to approve minutes.
I move to approve the minutes of the April 11th, 2018 meeting.
Second.
All those in favor? It's unanimous.
I move to approve the minutes of the April 25th, 2018 meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
I've got an issue with that.
Yes, sir.
25th, section 10, part 2. I can't move to exit out of executive session and then second it. I believe it might have been Kate that was
I'll assume responsibility.
Okay. Good catch.
Peace not here.
Yeah, I know.
Somebody had to do it.
Yeah, just stand in.
I had like 15 minutes while Jenny was reading.
Hey.
Did a great job.
Did anybody second that or no?
Not yet.
The 25th, you just wrote it?
I seconded it, but there was this is discussion.
Okay. All those in favor? It's unanimous. And moving along to committee reports. What groups have met since we have last gathered that we need an update on?
Facilities met. We had kind of discussed where we were going to go forward as far as the new middle school and any contingency plans that we may want to proactively start thinking about. And ultimately, it was the conclusion of the entire facilities group that we were just going to kind of wait and see what the decision was handed down by DOE, and then start to move forward. So at this time, our position is we are waiting to see what the decision is.
Okay.
Do you have anything else to add? Feel free.
All right. Okay. Any book meetings or anything that we've missed?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay.
We have one coming up. They didn't have one last month.
Okay.
They haven't had one in a while.
Yeah, it seems like they used to report more regularly.
Well, they used to have them. This time of year they don't, because there's a lot of things going on, and a lot of kids, the different programs have their competitions that they go out of state for. So there's a lot of things going on in school. The site visits are happening. You know, all the kids are going there, kids signing up or whatever. So we don't have, I don't know why, but we never have one in March. The April one is coming up shortly.
We're in May.
I mean May, I'm sorry. April, May one's coming up.
Okay.
Real quickly, we have a 350 committee that's doing the and we have not met recently, but we have been talking, sharing a form Peter found that was interactive, which was really kind of cool. And so right now we're kind of sending stuff to Peter on what we like, what we would remove, what isn't realistic, what we would add, and he's kind of going to put it together. So
I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to ask where that was at.
Yeah.
Since he's not here.
Right. So hopefully we'll have something to show you guys for your input soon.
Okay, that'd be great. Sandy, did you have anything you needed to share?
Just a couple things. As always, every year it's really important for the public to get out and to attend public budget meeting, which, just a reminder, it's May 23rd at Wyndham High School Auditorium, which is at 6:30. And it's just critical that during these tough budget seasons that we really hear from the public. So again, if the public would come out on May 23rd at 6:30 at the high school auditorium. That would be wonderful. And if you could put on your calendar, June 12th, we have the public budget referendum where people go to vote on the budget, and your support would be appreciated. Lastly, the assistant principal position at the high school, if I'm not mistaken, I believe they're interviewing for that position on May 10th. So we should have a decision, let's say, by Memorial Day weekend easily. So.
Good. Is there any updates on the SEA 2.0? Is there anything happening with that? No? Okay. All right. Alrighty then.
Can I ask for that? Did anything ever happen with the boat?
Lost track.
The boat. Oh,
does it sit anywhere? I mean, does it like physically exist somewhere in somebody's yard or something?
Yeah, he had given us a couple of options of whether setting it off or getting a refund.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure exactly how it all ended up.
Do we know where it sits? We don't even know where it is.
It's the second one. It's the second one missing. Well, the first one was is really out of sea.
This one's on land somewhere.
This is.
This one's on
missing,
land.
Missing, but close by. I'm sure somebody knows, and maybe Bob.
Do we still have a technology group? I get like confused in this. I mean, you had it and then
not exactly.
This year it never got going.
Oh.
Okay. Have you met?
Sandy spoke to. I spoke to Bob about it, and I had followed up with Bob, and he was talking. A lot of it had to do with how much interest others had come into it. I don't think it ever did take off.
It would be nice to have that piece since it's part of our strategic plan. Maybe.
Can't you like mandate people? I mean, it's kind of like, hello, you need to send a representative.
I can speak a bit to it, which is we've met more than a few times and feel like there might need to be a reconstitution of the group and the various leadership components to technology. So that's really why this feels like there's some foot dragging. There really isn't. We probably will have more of an internal department-based group and then more of a strategic group that would include some administrators and board members that may have interest. So it's going to look a little different, regretfully not up and running yet.
So they'll be getting a new charge, basically.
Definitely seems like we have some enthusiastic employees.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It was a ride.
Okay. Then moving on to board roundtable. I'll start down with you, Jenny.
Sure. I would like to say that I was very impressed with the presentation that Chris did as a part of the accreditation visit Sunday. It was terrific. I liked also the conversations that we had in our interview. Although, of course, we always worry if we said the right thing. But I was very impressed with the dedication of all the teachers and all of the extra work that they had to do, and with everybody being there for such a length of time on a Sunday afternoon. It was really great. I can't wait to see the art show on Monday at Wyndham High School. It's always a wonderful thing. I really can't wait to see all the work that is done all over the district.
Don't forget to say you're still waiting for the cookies that we were promised.
Oh yeah, we were supposed to get cookies. And
Sunday
this one wasn't going to stay.
Yeah. They said
Yes.
there'd be cookies after.
That's right. They did promise us cookies. No, they promised cookies.
Yes.
They promised
There were
cookies.
cucumbers, right.
Anna, did you have anything?
Besides the cookies.
Besides my complaint that there were no cookies, it really was.
Complaint, actually.
Thank you. No, it was amazing, like Jenny said. Besides that, I'm really just trying to survive my very first graduation. So I can't talk about what's going on because it just makes me cry. So.
But that's so unlike you, man.
I know, right? I feel so reserved. It's weird.
Scott, do you have anything?
I don't have anything.
No, but I do have a question for you. On that other committee you're on, I know it's not part of our our group, but is there anything on
Facilities.
the joint,
I know
the joint, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Does everybody else know what I mean?
I know. That other group.
The
joint
shared vehicle
That's
maintenance
it.
facility. A contract was awarded. What's the name of the company?
It was right down here. Yeah, Great Falls.
Yes. But we're still waiting on DEP permitting, and hopefully that will be wrapped up. Next planning board meeting will be 11th, 14th, somewhere around there. So
26.
hopefully we will have some more information, and they'll start cutting into the ground very shortly. Really?
Isn't that amazing?
And just a reminder
Isn't that a shock?
to everyone, the last breakfast at the high school is Tuesday.
Which I thought.
Which,
It is
well,
a-
it's the brunch time. We
Brunch.
did change it. They were accommodating. We did a couple of breakfast times. However, we were not getting the attendance we had hoped. So that last one we're putting back to the 10:20, and those are very worthwhile. It sounds like they have a good presentation
Did you say it
prepared
was
for
the
us.
23rd?
No, it's Tuesday. That would be the 8th. Put it in your
July.
calendar.
It's on there.
It's on the calendar. Yeah, I was gonna say actually invites did go out, so it should be on your
Yeah.
calendars as well. Other than that, I can't think of what else I was gonna say. Did you have something? Don't.
I went to the Wyndham Middle School concert. It was wonderful. The orchestra, the band, and the chorus, all headed by Miss Riley. Fantastic. She's really an asset to the school. So it was wonderful.
Mister? No. Okie dokie. Then.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Done. Unanimous.
Jumps on board.
Freaking hot in here.
It is.
It is.
It is so